Hello, this is J.N.S with Nakhti University, and I want to do an impromptu set song on the concept of programming in the sense of entertainment, education, but also we want to bring it down to what the real ulterior motives or outcomes of what programming is. And that becomes evident just in your parent and child relationships. So, if you have a young kid, you have to teach them things. You have to teach them how to wash up. You have to teach them how to groom themselves. You have to teach them how to put things together, right from wrong, boundaries, standards, these type of things. And so as you're teaching them, you're using a set of techniques or methods, and which essentially amounts to programming, right? And so, the word programming can have a lot of, connotations around it, both positive and negative. But in the real sense, when Nakhti University is talking about programming, when you hear me use the term programming, we're most likely referring to teaching, unless we are shedding light on the more sinister aspects of programming, which can use psychotronics and be used to lower your frequency. That's not the type of programming that Nakhti University is based on or would be teaching, right? And so when we're talking about programming, we're talking about programming in the sense of entertainment meets education, usually for some sort of debriefing. It could be informational, and it can be educational. It can be entertaining, but it's not meant to distract from your soul evolution. Now, let's say like in agrarian culture, like, how when humans first evolve, they have to do a day's work generally for, say, like a tribe or civilization. So this predates, having cities and all the things we have now, all of the architecture, whatnot. But you had those things of agriculture, textile, construction, irrigation. You have your typical day's work, and that could range from 2 to 4 hours, probably no more than 6 hours at the most, generally speaking. But most people's work day in those days was about 2 to 4 hours a day. You have to tend to the garden. You have to make sure, food's on the table and sustenance and those things are taken care of. The men obviously would probably have, 5 to 6 days, 6 hours. And once the things were done, in society, once the days was done, you have your debriefing. You have that. Even you see that today, like even in was more corporate and capitalist. Like people get off from work and what do? They want to turn on the TV. They want to watch some sort of programming. But back in the day, before television existed, before electronics existed, quote unquote, people would do plays. People would put on plays in Broadway, and people would entertain through dance and song and instrumentation. And I'm speaking to melanated people, they come up with all these instruments, come up with all these dances and games too, games and plays and scripts. And so a lot of the, plays consisted of, how they would, if you're around a fire, you would do the hand puppet show, right? And believe it or not, you would come up with some stories and come up with tales and, and even when I was a kid, no lie, like when I was a little kid, we used to have that flashlight. Everybody remember that flashlight. And see, this concept is very important for those who understand optical illusions and how light works and how light reflects and how you can create a show. Like this is about 20% of what masonry is, believe it or not. 20% is the aspect of the show, the performance. Lights, camera, action. And so even if you study the way a camera is made from the eye, the retina, how it mimics the eye, and the idea of, the universe is mental. And then you see the original meaning of that Gyan mudra, which they call it, now it has this unfortunate, negative, really negative connotation. But that symbol is older than 15,000 years old. That symbol, it predates Kemet. We're talking about at the height of pretty much that Atlantean dimension. We know the beings who taught that symbol. That symbol, like they call it the 3-6 symbol with it's a Gyan mudra. And then you see, it looks like the OK symbol, right? That OK symbol is an extremely old mudra. I know the order that created it and what it originally meant. And I am going to share that today for the first time, because it has such a negative connotation. We don't use it anymore in 125D, nor does other dimensions really use it anymore, because we would create new mudras. I have new mudras that I've created. I think I've created about 3 new mudras, and 3 is enough, So I've created 3 new mudras. And so I personally just use my own mudras, But that 3-6, that OK symbol, it stands for, when you put it up to your eye, it stands for that optical illusion of light and your ability to create through, obviously, that set of codes. The first one is 369, or you could reverse it 963. And so the 369, obviously, when you add up certain numbers, you can divide them by 3 or 6 or 9. And so remember when Nikola Tesla was saying, if you guys understand the numbers 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the understanding of the world. That's partially correct. That's not totally true. It's just a code that's based on this. It's important for this vortex space. It's important for planet Earth. That doesn't mean that code is universally in every dimension. It's actually not. And that's why I'm actually giving out the intel on it, because it's not as important as you think anymore, as we're coming to the end of the dawn, the end of this particular age. But that OK symbol is 369. And it also stands for, you could look at it as Isis, Ra, and El. Okay, so it was a symbol that was created by the divine feminine. And so Isis obviously represents the maiden. That's your 3. Your maiden, that's your maiden symbol. When you say maiden, mother, and crone, right? And so that is the more beginning stages of your life. But it also, when you're maiden, you have like this, I wouldn't say like naive consciousness, but it's just a more younger sense of self. And so you have maiden. The next one is mother. So that stands for 6, and that's Ra. Okay. And so you have Isis, Ra is 6, and Ra stands for great mother. That also means sun. So now you're getting into sun, sun, the great mother. The sun originally in the beginning stages of Kemet, not so much towards the end, but especially in the beginning, was great mother. It was always looked at as a feminine symbol, believe it or not, especially coming from those who understood, especially those from the angel class from Pleiades. They would never have seen it any other way. Same with the beings from Saturn, beings from Pleiades, and even to beings from Orion, the melanated ones that especially that landed in Akibalon in South America, North America, and even in some parts of India and some parts of Asia. They would, even if you look at Japan's sun goddess, their term for God, I think it, and I know it's spelled like, I think it's, don't quote me on this, it's Marastu. They have a sun goddess. It's actually a goddess. It's not a god. So their concept for the sun is a goddess. And so that's actually very old. That's not anything new. Now it is more masculine. And that's nothing wrong with that, but whatever, because it's the light and you think of the positive, whatever. They switched a lot of things, but nonetheless, your 3 from your OK symbol. So your first one is your maiden. That's Isis. Everybody knows that Isis, what she represents, the fertility goddess. I think she's fertility, and she's a couple other things, but that's your fertility. Your Ra, that's your sun. Sun, that's your great mother figure. So now we get into the mother figure, a bigger figure that cultivates, that gives you your nourishment and your sustenance, but on a grander scale, right? It's on a grander scale than what Isis does. She's fertility. So you got, the fertility in the sense of on a human level, right? You have to give birth. You have to, you tend to the child. You breastfeed them. That's the Isis. Your Ra is the sun. The sun, give it her life. That's she's nourishing. The great mother is nourishing your plants. making sure the trees grow, all that stuff. That's the sun. Then you have, that's the 6. So you have 3, 6. And then your 9 is your L. Believe it or not, your L relates to the satellite of Saturn. That is a female as well. It's a play on it. You can say people call it Elohim, but that's kind of it's not quite that. When we say L, is mainly relates to Saturn. To be honest, it just relates to it's a way to connect to Saturn, and that is your crone mother. See, Saturn is looked at as your crone mother. It's not a male figure like they say Kronos eating a baby and all that craziness. That is the perversions of that. So it means crone mother, maiden mother crone. Isis Ra El. 3, 6, 9. You can also reverse it too and get 963. Now that's your crone mother. And that's the Saturn energy of discipline, restriction, karma, family rectification, esoteric teachings, esoteric studies, certain technologies, believe it or not, comes from Saturn. What other octaves of Saturn? Past life rectifications, recycled material. People could call it waste, but one part of Saturn, one octave of Saturn is some of the waste dumping that gets churned out. But then the rectification process on the higher levels of Saturn is wisdom, justice, balance, restriction, slowing down of energies so that it don't hit planet Earth all at once. As far as different forms of light, codes, and light itself. So that's what that OK symbol originally meant. It was a symbol of the divine feminine order. 3, 6, 9, Isis, Ra-El. That is the real definition of Israel. But some people put an M in front of it. In Kemet, they have an M. And that also still relates to something more of the divine feminine, though I'm not familiar with that particular teaching. But I do know of a black women's that use the M, like Miss Rael. It's all changed because, as you know, this day and age, that is all perverted. The knowledge has been stolen and it's all over the place. And so I personally don't use that OK symbol anymore. But we're talking about Atlantean and Kemet and ancient times, and even in past lives, that was a universal symbol. And then when you put it up to the eye, it's like this is an optical illusion, and we create as we speak. And this is the optical illusion through the eye. This reality is occurring in your head. It's recurring because the universe is mental. And so as the light reflects from your eye, your retina, you should be able to develop that same technique from the universe as above, so below. So just like how satellites from the Saturn, Sun, and then Earth can create this optical illusion from the light, right? People come up with that construct on this very planet through shows and through literal camera. The flashlight. The flashlight is the same thing where you're showing borons and like physics. I think it's called like borons and fermions. It's something in physics where it's like this light. Don't quote me on this, but study the way a flashlight works, and then it's like certain ions can penetrate the barrier because it's different than like a solid state, right? It's not like solid, like, oh, you can't go through it. So this is the difference. This is why light becomes important on this planet. And so when we were kids, we would take that flashlight, and then do our fingers as like little bunny rabbits or make little, cool little things with our hands and do a play and write and come up with a story. And I remember we would judge like, okay, who had the best story? Who's the best, who had the most entertaining story or script. And we were coming up on the spot. Like sometimes the theme would be horror sometimes. And I honestly, I did not like the scary stories, but when it was my turn, I was coming up with something crazy, I was going to do, some gremlin monsters and all types of crazy stuff. But people, we would try to make it as entertaining as possible as kids, as when we would play with them little flashlights and do our little hands. And so that obviously morphed into, getting puppets on the hands. Remember, they used to have a puppet show with put the puppets on the hands, and somebody is behind it, obviously, but then you see the puppet out on the stage performing something, and there's somebody else working it with their brain. So you have that concept too. Then you get into more advanced, you have the Shakespearean and Othello, like really advanced playwriting, poetry, and really Broadway. Then you get into Broadway. Then you get into television programming, cartoons, And so the idea of like the script and that level of programming was generally for entertainment. I won't hold you, but at the same time, when it gets to the more advanced levels in terms of teaching and what type of programming you putting out there, you should be wanting to give some sort of lesson. And that's where the idea of the Christmas tree come from. And see, I have to say, like, even though like we are looked at as a Hebrew branch, like if you look at even in the book of Jeremiah, right? Jeremiah, he doesn't like the idea of the Christmas tree, right? But if you read it for what it is on some interdimensional stuff, like sometimes kind of I'm not saying approach everything like approach the Bible like it's Star Wars, but just on a small level, just on a little bit, you can see some of the species intermingling that don't understand each other from certain star systems. And if you read Jeremiah and you see where he's looking at this other group of people that cuts a Christmas tree. Remember, he said he cut a tree and they put weird ornaments on it, and remember where it says they don't have it in them to do evil, but they don't have it in them to do good either. And he thought they were strange and weird, but that's key. They don't have it in them to do evil, but they don't have it in them to do good either. And it's like, I know immediately that comes from Saturn, at this idea of the tree and talking about like the star on top of the head. Don't trade in the presents under the gifts for the star on top of your head. That was what the teaching, that was them teaching like a curriculum to another set of people, to their tribe, right? So it's like, but then another tribe is observing that, knowing that they from a different star system or a similar star system, but don't like the fact that women can teach, or don't like the fact that they're using, physical objects to teach. So a faction of Hebrew science wouldn't believe in you don't use objects to teach curriculum, Certain Nagas beings don't agree with that. They feel like they can use anthropomorphic topics and personifications. They think they can use improv and tools to teach lessons. And the Christmas tree was one of the biggest ones. And obviously talking about some of the serum from the vagus nerve and some of from the cerebellum, with the trees and the lights on the trees representing your light, and the tree, the Ida Pingala, as far as like the lights going all the way up to the top of the head, the top of the lights on the tree. And see, trees was important to certain angels more than others, the concept of a tree. And so people may look at that as like, that's really pagan, but that's where it's coming from. It's just from what I'm seeing, even when I read the story of Jeremiah, is that they have a different, like that's clearly a different interdimensional species or a different star system, but understand the same science. Because that same concept, though that a woman, and I could tell it was something a woman was doing, because women like to decorate things, like women decorate the house and interior design, and decorating a tree is something a woman would do. That wouldn't be something a man would do. A man is not going to think of putting ornaments and lights and then telling a story. Remember, guys, don't trade in your presence, which don't trade in your soul, and don't trade in your energy, your kinetic energy, and give them the star that's on top of your head. That's your star. That's your light. Don't let them take your light. That type of thing. And that's a woman teaching that. Whereas from the phallic version of the Hebrew science, they're like, you don't need any. They just tell them, Just like how you see with Isaiah's warnings and with Moses, or even with Yeshua's parables, you wouldn't have all of these, trinkets to just teach a lesson, And so you can see some of the disagreements around it. I just know that those are different star systems. To me, I look at it as like they come from a different star system, where in their culture, in that particular tribe, that was okay to do that. But they were a faction of Hebrews. They may not have been the tribe of Judah, but I can tell instantly, because I didn't need anyone to tell me about that Christmas tree story. I knew that that's what the Christmas tree was for. And then obviously it's on the pine tree with the pine cones with the pineal gland. The pine tree being a symbol for your pineal gland, right? And so that's how you could put it all together. And then obviously, some you call them fallen angels or earth angels or seraphim, other angels. Not all of them are fallen, but even some of them, knowing that the chemical compositions in pine had certain terpenes, and then you can make turpentine, and then the metaphysical properties, like certain fairies and angels know certain properties of even, the chemicals, and they would make turpentine and use that to ward off certain entities, death spells, death threats. And that is honestly one ways in which, those women were even protecting themselves from other tribes, because they were getting cursed. Men was looking at them like, oh, are y'all serious? So they would make the pine. That's where the turpentine comes from. And they would wash up with it. The women would wash up with it to keep away odor. And the men too, the men in their tribe, because that was a matriarchal tribe that was teaching that. So the boys, they would wash up with the turpentine too. And that would also help them stave off evil spirits, believe it or not. And for those that have esoteric knowledge of that, they can confirm what I'm saying, what I'm teaching, that does come from a female order. That's all it is, And so angels, they demonize certain things that they don't understand. But what you have to understand, and this is why even if you guys want a reference for like, well, how could that has to be of the devil? Read the book of Tobit, where you see Archangel Michael. See, the Archangel Michael or Archangel Raphael, I believe it's Archangel Michael, teaching another Hebrew certain spell work on how to evade a death spell and how to not die because of this woman who they felt I think her name was Sarah or Rachel. There's another person named Sarah or Rachel, but this is in the book of Tobit, and he took this out the Bible, by the way, because it's a bunch of stuff like this. There's like 100 books missing, and pretty much stuff like this, like what I'm talking about, it exists. It's like how hyssop and frankincense and myrrh for myrrh. Let me get back to the story with Michael before I talk about the other stuff, because people don't believe that this stuff is in the Bible, or that they don't practice witchcraft, or they don't practice this stuff. So Michael was teaching another guy like how to protect himself from a death spell or from dying. And he taught them literally what would be today called modern day hoodoo. And so they went and they got a fish, they had ground it up and turned it into powder, and they added herbs to it, certain herbs and certain resins, and mixed it up, right? And he told him, you're going to put this right in the back of your ear. You're going to put this we're going to put this on your person or your body. And then you'll be able to sleep with her and not die. You'll be able to avoid that spirit. You'll be able to drive out that wicked spirit that likes to take, men's souls. And so he taught him grinding up of a powder and putting the oils and resins and creating this concoction. This was Archangel Michael, guys. And so seraphims know certain things. And just like how you see, like some of them got in trouble for teaching humans certain things, like Azazel had got in trouble because you were supposed to teach him certain things. There are angels on this planet that are allowed to teach certain things. And even if Archangel Michael, come on, is able to teach a human, a regular melanated human, who is a Hebrew, obviously, spell to make sure he gets to drive out a wicked spirit, you better believe, like, this is the same thing where Lucifer was teaching music. Azazel was teaching certain things, but he got in trouble for what he was teaching because they weren't supposed to, if you have a treaty, you're not supposed to teach certain things, you can get in trouble too. Metallurgy comes from a certain class of beings. Sometimes it's not as something as hard as metallurgy, because ironworking, bronze work. Ironworking was is about 35,000 years old. It started in the Kibbalan. Certain species would teach you these things, and from star systems that would be more advanced and know these things. And then those are God's helpers. And so it's not for those who be like, oh, well, that's a demon teacher. That's a jinn. A jinn is not the same as an angel. And an angel and a demon, you don't have a proper understanding of what those terms are. There are demons, which is like entrankle energies that create sort of this parasitic pull on frequency and can be vampiric and could want to possess. And so there is a such thing as a demon. Don't get me wrong. If you would call that a demon, they can do demon possession, but that's more like maybe archon possession. I think that the more appropriate term would probably be archon, or I'm not sure that demon is the right term for that. It could be, but we do know that angel is a messenger. An angel has skills and teach things, but even if you look at the Bible, the Old Testament or New Testament, you see that the ways you would use hyssop. Hyssop is used for purifying, and you can take baths with hyssop, frankincense, and myrrh. Myrrh, believe it or not, attracts angelic spirits to the home, while frankincense purifies. So that's why a lot of people like to use frankincense and myrrh together. So frankincense is used to purify energy and get rid of entrankle spirits. And then myrrh, believe it or not, does bring in spirits, but it's usually only the heavenly angelic ones. So that's why you see the church like to use frankincense and myrrh resin. That's not just the only one. You'll see where in the Bible it talks about how like you use emerald, sapphire, onyx. Those carry metaphysical properties, and you could put that on certain, how they talk about how the temple was built. And the temples had onyx. You can read this. There's even mentions of crystals in the book of Genesis, but then also in certain chapters, I would say even in maybe in Ezekiel, they're talking about some of the crystals. I did do a video on it. It say crystals in the Bible. So if you look at some of my, material, I know it at least in 2025. Could have been 2026. I think it was 2026. We did a video that said crystals in the Bible, and we went through all the different crystals in the Bible. Sapphire, onyx, ruby, quartz is in the Bible. All the quartz. So that would mean amethyst is in there too. So like when people say these things, they don't read their book when they want to demonize what they see other people doing, especially if you see a Hebrew or a seraph or an actual angel knowing more advanced techniques and sciences than you. That's coming from their star system. And so maybe they should teach certain things, maybe they shouldn't. I'm of the mind that we have to use wisdom on this planet because this planet is off the chain. And so you can't necessarily share everything you may know, but some things, when you see certain beings talking about certain herbs or knowing more material and then you just go and demonize them, like, what are you talking about? Like you sound literally crazy to them. They don't understand. Now, there are such things as folly and foolishness and quarrelsome and babble, and as far as philosophies and ideas and debates. Don't get me wrong. Like, we know that. But a lot of times when you see like this phallic approach to the way some of these, the demonization of what you even see in the Bible, you know that is some sort of agenda because there's 100 books missing. You know that because you see Yeshua and Peter getting into it constantly because Yeshua was more so from the 125D science. And that's why they got jealous when he kept teaching Mary and Magdalene certain things and not them. But then he told them after his resurrection to go learn from Mary and Magdalene, and they didn't do it. And so they didn't even get all of the science that comes from the original order, from that priesthood, which is matriarchal. He wouldn't have been able to teach it. And so that's why he was reminding her of these sciences and like, you have to teach, they have to learn it from her. Because in that order, that's not a big deal as far as the dragon riders. And in 125D, it's not a big deal. And so did they pass the test? No, they failed the test. They didn't. They refused to learn to go. So Peter denies Yeshua 3 times, and then Paul learns from Peter after him being a vigilante, and so you already see a lot of that approach that that phallic approach that led to the politicalization of even the canonization, that led to the removal of 100 books. The book of Susanna, the stories of different females. Even there's even books that don't even mention the story of Esther, and so this is what we're talking about. And so you don't have the full picture. And then someone can look at another tribe and say, another Hebrew tribe, and demonize them and say, well, that's oh my gosh, it is really just women playing around with stuff, women being women, and then maybe you feel some type of way, aroused or whatever, and now you want to curse them and all that you see that those women is doing with those bracelets and bangles and gold and what, like. And then if Yeshua is saying that a woman is allowed to teach, but then you want to hurry up and remove that out of the Bible and then put in what Paul is saying. Paul is not Yeshua. And Paul is not, I can show you, we can go verse where Paul is giving opinions at times. He's talking about he used to be a persecutor. Dude, look at how you talking. That's not even how Yeshua talk. You still persecuting. What are you talking about? You still coming from that Sanhedrin. You still brought in the old laws of the church. That it was undoing the equation that Yeshua was setting up. And then if Yeshua said, women, if God gives an idea to a woman and she wants to teach it, she can teach it. Because they had an issue with Mary and Magdalene, like, why is she teaching more than us? And you could see it. And this stuff got removed. Why was it removed? Why did y'all remove it out the Bible? Jesus didn't remove it out the Bible. The Catholic Church did. So what is we doing? So when people say a woman cannot teach, Yeshua does give clearance for women to teach. Go and read it. Just because somebody took it out for their own little patriarchal sexism, misogynoir stuff, that's what they got to do with that doesn't nullify what was originally there. And it doesn't nullify the other stories just because somebody pushes an agenda. And that's just what people have to understand. And then Judah, the tribe of Judah itself is matriarchal, and you could see it. And obviously, when women are teaching or women are learning something, they're going to use things with the more feminine aspects of it. So you see they'll remove the H and just use the A, certain words and certain letters in Hebrew and in Arabic, or you can put the H back and make it male sometimes. Sometimes the frequency of a word that's inherently female, you can add the H and it won't even matter. Like the word Shekinah, if you add the H, it don't change, it don't turn it masculine. That concept is naturally, it was born a feminine concept, basically. So just adding the H, just like the term a lot. Adding the term H does not change it masculine, no matter what you do. You can't change the term Allah and then you just put an H in this. Oh, that makes it masculine. Now, obviously in Islam, they made it that way, but the frequency is off. It doesn't change it. Certain terms don't change, just like the term Ra. Just because you add an H to it, don't change it. It won't change it to masculine if it's an inherently feminine concept. Same with the term Inanna. Now, if you are someone that's an actual angel, you should be able to hear the word Inanna and know instantly that's a female goddess of the underworld. You don't need to have study anything. You would just know, oh, Inanna, but the word Inanna, and then you see it ends with an A, you would automatically know that doesn't have a masculine principle to it. You would know just from the A. And then the I, you would know it's some sort of underworld deity, just from the way it's spelled. Like, I'm just saying, if you're an actual angel, you should know this without no training, no study. You don't have to study Babylonian culture, Sumerian, Akkadian, Assyrian, Kemet. You don't, even some of the West African culture, Ifa, none of that. Palomayon, but you don't have to study none of it. You'll know it instantly. That's just like when I heard certain things like about the Orishas and Ifa. I know certain things. I don't have to go and get initiated. I already know. I already knew that they turned that matriarchal science patriarchal. I already knew it just from as soon as I said, oh my gosh, what do they do with this? Come to find out, their oracles and their priestess already knew about it. They were already complaining about some of their elders over there. And even some of the Mami Wada priests, they already knew too. And they're like, okay. And now you see what you see today, But even if you say like the Oni of Ifa or the Oduduwa, these are feminine concepts, even in Yoruba culture. Those are very feminine concepts. Oduduwa. You can look this up. The Oni of Ife. Those were originally matriarchal concepts. It turned patriarchal now. You go back and even if you look into the Orishas, you have Shango, Yemaya, Ogun, Oya, Papalegua or Olegua, and then what is the other one? I'm trying to just do all 7 off of the dome. What was the other 2? Babalewa. That's not the Babalewa. Oh, what is that? Alodamare. And I'm missing one. Ogun. I already said Ogun. Shango, Ogun, Oya, Yemaya. Alodamare. Let me just look this up because I like to just try to refresh my memory off the dome without having to look up stuff. But if I'm forgetting one, and I know I'm going to kick myself up. Elegua. I know I'm gonna be mad at myself when I be like, oh, I could have remembered that. Why couldn't I remember that? And there's way more than 7 Orishas. There's way more, considerably a lot more. Alodamare is the supreme creator. That, believe it or not, was originally a female. You can look this up. Obatala. That's what it was. Obatala. Okay, yeah, that's what it was. That's the one I'm missing. Oshun, yeah. Oshun. Okay, Ogun. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Obatala was the one I was missing. Alodamare. Elegua, Obatala, Yameo, Oshun, Shango, Ogun. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. But there's a lot more than that. There's Orunmila and some, but these are powers, but they're like, people call them, some say that they're lesser gods, some look at them as archons, some look at them as very like high level spirits that relate to earth elementaries or dignitaries, earth elementary dignitaries, not so much cosmic, which is a little bit different. So it's an earth-based science, but that science is originally matriarchal too, and Alodamare was originally a female. If you get enough research and you got a true hitter, like a true teacher, like a real teacher that's educated, that is not trying to push an agenda, that understands the power of certain sciences and how that was actually a mentalist science too for inner development of character. And now they stay away from, and I could catch the hit, and people could, I know how they like to get like, you shouldn't want to hurt someone based on a difference of opinion. But I'm going to tell Black Americans this. Stay away from the American-based ones. Anything that's in America. And I'm not saying go over there and get initiated either. I'm not. I think if you're truly a seraph being a seraphim, you should know, you shouldn't have to study it, is what I'm saying. You will automatically know it. I guarantee you, and they will come to you. You will not have to go to them. And I say the Orishas themselves will come to you. I had a dream in 2021. I had a dream. If I'm lying, I'm flying. 3 nights in a row, 3 times in one night of Ogun coming to me in a dream in 2021. 3 times in one night, okay? 3 times in one night. No initiation, no understanding of Ifa, no understanding of Orisha, no understanding of none of that, okay? 3 times, one night. One night. And he was the one that gave me a lot of game on some stuff, heavy game, and was the one say, look, there's angels on this. You really need to wake up, honey. You like kind of like shaking your soul, like trying to get you like, and I'm not going to get into everything that was taught and told. 3 times in one night. So that means every time I went back to motherfucking sleep, I wasn't thinking about him. And I asked him, I said, what's your name? He smelled like palm oil. It smelled like a palm. And then that's the thing that he likes, palm and grapes, So how would I know that? It's like, I knew it was palm oil on his chest. And I said, what's your name? And he had that machete. How would I know all that? And so that's when he said, Ogun. And I said, what? So I remember I was trying to look at him. He started laughing, but he said, They sent me to attack your ass. I'm not doing that. I don't know you. They don't even have a valid reason for doing this shit to you. Like, they don't have a valid reason for coming at you like this. That's what he told me. He said, there's somebody, it's, because we going to get a little deep, and I'm going to get back into the programming and shows, because I know this got to do, we going to talk on BET and Robert Johnson. So just stay tuned. I know if you like, damn, this show is about, BET and Robert. Y'all ain't even talking about the shows and nothing like that yet. But, that's what he was saying. He's like, it's a group, they attacking you, and I just don't agree with it. And they sent me and I'm checking it out. I'm not going after this girl. It's not that deep. And so a lot of people feel like the Orishas have contracts that are more transactional than what they were in the past, and that they, even intelligence agencies, make pacts with some of the Orishas. I have heard about that. Ogun told me that himself, but they made it very clear to even the intelligence agencies that they go by bloodline first. And if they have somebody that they would protect, that's bloodline first over anything. So you can go and say, we want you to go after this person, or we want you to go attack them. And if that is blood, if they look at them like codes and see that they have some Igbo or Yoruba light code, or got some sort of genetics, and they soul is more powerful, or it's unjustified, they not gonna do it. And they told them that before they made the pacts and the contracts, because a lot of we talk about fallen angels make contracts with these Orishas, or maybe they may not even be fallen angels. It could be angels. Some of them could be angels too. And they had already told them, this is a part of it. Yeah, you can contract with us all you want, but we letting you know the contract will be null and void if you tell us to go after certain beings. And even if you feed us, even if you do whatever, we make the payment, whatever, we're not gonna move. We letting you know that's the risk you taking. That's the risk you taking. Yeah, you could tell us to go after Jenny or whoever, or a target individual, a chosen one, and we go over there and we not doing it. Good luck. And that's and again, you'll hear Black Americans tell you. I'm not the first one. I heard 5 Black Americans tell me those Orishas work with the CIA now, and they sounded crazy as hell back then. And then they'll go and tell me, and I asked him. I said, "Is that true? Because why are these Black Americans running around saying some of the Orishas have contracts with the CIA? How would they know that? Because some of the Black Americans are really advanced spiritually, and so they could pick up on that." And it is true. They weren't just making that up. And that's why they was telling Black Americans, especially American Indian ones, like the American Indian Negroes, y'all sitting there messing around with stuff. You don't even know if that's for your bloodline. They'll come to you. And it's true. You don't have to go and dabble with that. They'll come to you. Okay? And I'm letting Black Americans know this now. Stay out of their stuff, because that's Yoruba science. And that's an Ifa science. And it is a mental science that's based on character development. But what they doing right now in the U.S. state, I'll say this. I don't want to tell people what to do, right? But if you in Georgia, from what I hear other Black Americans telling me, if you stay away from Ifa, if it's based in Georgia, okay? That's all I'll say. Because they doing stuff with Ifa, they doing weird stuff with this science. And honestly, some of the gatekeepers and elders in Akibalan, in Nigeria themselves, should, if they're righteous, they work for God, they understand the Most High, they need to look into that and check some of these people over here that's giving Ifa a bad name. I'm telling you, it's people warning Black Americans about Ifa, and they telling us some crazy stuff about they have to be recruited and sell their soul and sign contracts and paperwork. And if they want wealth and riches, they got to recruit other souls. And they saying that Ifa is doing that. We all know that that's not Ifa science. I don't even need to. When I heard a Black American complain about it, it's not that I don't believe them. I believe what they're telling me. What I'm saying is that's not Ifa science. And so that means somebody is infiltrated it and perverting it to use it for Satanism. Okay? And if that's the case, which I believe that's what they are doing in America, what I'm saying is some of the righteous gatekeepers of the Ifa science that believe in the supreme creator of the universe, the Most High, please get in control of that. Please check it. Check it. Don't let your science get that perverted. It's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not attacking Ifa. You guys know that, because I even hear where they say they even trying to make it into like a gang in America. And so I'm trying to get ahead of this. If there's elders in the community that are in Georgia that are or more Afrocentric that understand Ifa, please get in front of that and stop that. If you see the youth using it to jump people, I'm telling you, there's stories about this stuff and using it to gang stalk people and mess with people and blacklist people. Please check it and say that is not, and teach them that is not Ifa way. That is not that science. That's just not it. It was originally a matriarchal science. Earth-based science, is not familiar to me, but it was really interesting when Ogun came to visit me. It didn't make me want to go and get initiated. It didn't even make me want to go and study it. I didn't need to study it. I asked what I needed to ask him and kept it moving. Okay? This is the type of level that a seraphim would be at. You don't have to go and study and seek out and to try to, you could seek out knowledge, don't get me wrong, but you don't need to go and try to dabble in other people's stuff. It'll come to you. Like Kalima came to me when I was 18. I didn't have to go and study. I didn't have to go and seek it out. Those beings come to you. Baron Samedi, visited me one time in a dream. Baron, just off of a whim. Baron Samedi. I said, what you was up with you? I was shocked. What you up to? That's Haiti. But you got to figure primordials will understand a lot of different IPUs. It's just like how you would, just like Abrahamic faiths, obviously. You have those visitations from the angels, obviously, all the archangels that visited me at some point, have interactions with them. The octaves these are just dreams. They're just dreams. If nothing else, they're just dreams, right? It's no big deal. They're just a dream. As long as you're protected by the Creator God of the universe, so you believe in the Most High and you believe in that supreme creator, you good. And so you can't put on a human understanding and project it onto an angelic being because they have a lot more knowledge than a human. And, like I said, they will come to you. You don't want to go out. When I hear Black Americans getting caught up having horrific experiences with Ifa and Palo Mayombe and trying to learn stuff, is that even in your bloodline? Is that even your science? Like, what if shamanism is your science? What if Druid science is more of your? What if Celtic? What if Hoodoo is more of your thing? What if Shakti science is more of your thing? If you have some of the Dravidian light codes, what if Kemet is more of your thing? What if, what I mean? Like, what if Hebrew science is your thing? And if you are seraphim with Hebrew light codes, you most likely would understand a lot of these different sciences. You don't have to go and and go and study and get initiated into all these things. You don't have to be disrespectful of it either. But if you see the perversions and the reversals and some of the ways in which these things have been used to harm people and control people and mind control people, and our religions and even the spiritual systems have. I'm not impressed by the spiritual systems, just like I'm not really impressed by the religion stuff either. I'm just not. But I also know that some of these are bloodline sciences. And in the original formations of these bloodline sciences, the intentions of these bloodline sciences and what they're actually teaching, some of it is really beautiful science. Science of understanding frequencies, science of understanding equations, science of even just understanding geometric mathematical patterns, science of understanding earth. When you strip all the spiritual stuff out of it and strip all the religion out of it, you'll see that, okay, some of these sciences just deal with earth, fire, water, or something, some of them deal with more of the equation aspects of words and frequencies and sound. That's more of a Hebrew science. It was a very powerful science. It's a very deadly science if you know what you're doing. And it can crush you. The Hebrew science can crush you, just like Kemet science can crush you. Those are like some of the most powerful ones. Okay, it can crush you. That's why a lot of people like to say, that's why even the melanated people themselves, they say, we ain't messing with that. We'll go with the lesser gods. We'll go with fairies and mermaids. We'll deal with the water god. We'll deal with planet. We'll deal with tree and earth spirits. Okay, we ain't got time for all of that because even though they could probably handle it, it's just that your frequency got to be right. And if the frequency it can take you right on out. Just like in Nakhti magic, you mess around with it. Yeah, you might get somewhere, but it'll knock you out because it's a bloodline science. Eventually, you got to pay back. You got to pay the Pied Piper. And same thing with Kemet. You can totally lose your mind and go batshit crazy forever. You can lose your mind. And you're going to have to wait. You have to and hope and pray that somebody love you enough to intercede for you and intercess for you to bring you back, or the Most High himself. You better have a relationship with the creator God of the universe that created Yeshua, that created everything. All the planets, okay? The universe itself. You don't have to really have, you better hope you have a relationship with them, with that entity, if you go messing around with that stuff. Okay, and I'm talking from experience, but I wasn't going and dabbling. The stuff came on my damn doorstep. It came on my doorstep. Just like when I'm going straight up told me, you're being spiritually and psychically attacked, young lady, in 2021. And they said they sent me. They got a contract with me to come after you. This is governmental. What's going on here? And I told them I'm not doing it. I'm not fucking with her. She cool. Like. But he did say, I'm going to teach you some shit because you need to defend yourself. You sit up here in the damn days. You in the damn days. Not even just oblivious. And it's your government. He made it clear. And that's when I said, why are these Black Americans saying I work for the CIA now? And I just started asking him questions. He said it is contractual, so it's transactional, you know. And so some Black Americans don't like them because they feel like they are like they feel like, if you want a list or whatever, or if it's a cult group that send them after you and they'll attack you, and you be like, damn, and you know, and so sometimes a lot of people don't work with, you know, they just keep it simple, you know, and even this is what I'm learning, and I actually I like the more simple approach. Get rid of all that stuff and all of that, and just go with the equations. In the science, and I just like, that's why I like Yeshua's science. Believe it or not, it's opening back that gateway to understanding the original Hebrew science from the matriarchal levels, and I appreciate that. I kind of already knew that, but it simplifies some of because believe it or not, a lot of the stuff, especially when I talk about the archetypes and the intergalactic mentalism and the entities, that's more Kemet stuff. It's Kemet. And it brings you more, it can bring you denser into physicality or in a denser frequency. And the Hebrew science is just removing all of that. The higher levels of it removes all of that. And you use the angelic assistance to bring you back up through the inner man, up, not going expanded. See, it expands the consciousness beyond, it can expand it like a damn rubber band, like an elastic rubber band. And so, yeah, you have a vast amounts of knowledge and understanding of things and access to archetypes and concepts and archetypes, you know, and whatnot, and even ideas and entities, as you say. But the Hebrew science removes all of that, contracts it back into the mind. So the universe is mental. Instead of expanding out, contract back up higher, and get rid of all of that so you can have clarity and be into yourself. As we say, those who go in believing in faith, having faith and believing in miracles and the codes. And remember what we told you what believing in miracles mean. And when you say, I believe in miracles, or I have faith in God, or the kingdom of God is within you, going back up. And that's why Yeshua was able to remove demonic possessions from people in his tribe, those who were afflicted with demons and all these things and entities. Because they knew what it was. And a lot of them was getting attacked by Goetia, Lesser Key of Solomon, science, by their own family members and whatnot. But sometimes it could be just something that went haywire, you know. And so it's that science teaches the ability to remove a lot of that. It's not to denigrate Kemet science. It's just merely it's able to fix and contract back what sometimes that science can do if it goes wrong. And that's why those beings, typically angelic beings, or Nagas and Netters, they typically know both sciences, and the higher chieftains of the Hebrew science that gatekeep it did not teach some of the beings that were all into Kemet, the higher forms of Hebrew science, just so they could have an upper hand of them, even though they went to the same mystery schools. So it's just like, if we need to be able to take your ass out, we could just crush you. And they did. And you see Kemet is gone to this day. With the exception of the remnants of the temples of Anbus and Bel and the Temple of Karnak and Sphinx and whatnot in Giza, and all of the hieroglyphics are still here. But in Medjugorje, most people don't even understand those sciences, because the science was meant to die when those beings died, and that's also the cool thing about Kemet. The more responsible thing that Kemet did do with some of those beings was like, this stuff has to die with us, because you don't want that knowledge to get in the wrong hands, and people could ponder over it and make up shit as they go. But sometimes you just want those sciences to die with you, and with the knowledge that those beings, it should be able to create new ones. You should be able to create new things. Some things stay traditional. Some things just are, like the science of frequency and sound and equations. That's just it. That's a stabilizer. And that is the primal Hebrew origins, primal Hebrew science. And very few people get to the frequency to be able to harness that energy, Yeshua being one of them. And a lot of, being angels, obviously Archangel Michael and Raphael and Uriel and Elohim, the different classes of angels, the principalities, the thrones and dominions, they're able to harness the more higher frequencies of that science. But for a human, it's not even important for a human to understand that. Maybe if you're a pastor, if you're a Negro pastor, and if you know for a fact that you are of that bloodline, and you will know, and you should know by now, you have gotten your tap on the shoulder. You should know that it is not a religion. It is a bloodline, okay, from a specific star systems or set of star systems in terms of their epigenetics. When it comes to Negroes, they have quite a bit of epigenetic light codes within them as far as attachments to certain star systems. Pleiades, Saturn, Orion, Andromeda, okay, Arcturus. Those, and quite a bit more. And so these star systems, that means you have the understanding of the light codes, and then the IPUs, certain set of energies and certain set of information within your core of your body and within your cell memory consciousness that you can tap into, for good or bad, okay? And so obviously some have earth ones too. So if you're a Negro, you have the earth ones too, ones from the sun epigenetics as well. Sunlight codes rather. And so you would know those things. Excuse me. But when it comes to say if you're from Saturn, from Pleiades star systems, and you be in a human flesh, when we talk about programming and lights and the stars and lights, camera, action, that is coming from the idea of your performance is rooted in some sort of programming or lesson. What is the outcome of the teaching, and what are you trying to show? So it's not necessarily like you're trying to distract. Now, what you see today is everything about distraction. So you see Zeus Network, right? You see Zeus Network is fighting, sex, drama, drugs. That's not what you would totally create programming around. Actually, you wouldn't create programming around it at all. You wouldn't do that at all. And when we say that the entertainment aspect is 20% of masonry, it is, because if you look at certain people, they have a knack for entertainment. Michael Jackson, James Brown, you see, even Aaliyah was a purebred seraph, so you'll see certain people, they just have a natural knack. They just have a talent for performing. And that's where they get to shine. And so some people have natural abilities to shine. Some people like to suppress and dim other people's light by stealing and trying to vampire off of them and try to steal, copy them and all these things. That's the false light. But when you see like actual light be able to shine naturally, and then people, you go and this is not the same as like, oh, everybody's act like we don't know what that, everybody ignore that person. No, when you see the light, you know when you got light, and you know when you got sauce. And you see people's natural star power, and usually it is on this from the angelic class, and the angelic class likes to perform. They like to be seen, and so you'll see them do shows. You'll see them perform, and then it could be captivating. Like even I could show like whole rituals that Michael Jackson was doing in some of his performances. I'm not going to show that online, but I would like to teach like the Negro offline, like some of the things he was doing, like opening up portals and opening up gateways, and then walking through them, and all with his hands and dancing. Like it was just going over people's heads. It wasn't a bad thing either. It was to wake certain people up. Okay, if it was for a bad reason, like some people do concerts and tours to put you under spells, programming spells to get you in different timelines. Like if they want to bring you back to the 90s timeline, the 60s timeline. And see, that's why you have to be very careful of what tours and concerts you go to. Let's see, like when you watch some of Michael Jackson's performances, you'll see where he's trying to wake up certain bloodlines. In particular, in Black America in particular, and I can prove this. I could show you. Like somebody was trying to decode one of his videos, and they didn't hit on nothing. They hit on some things. I'm not coming at that. They good decoders, I'm not coming at them. But I said, damn, you missed a whole bunch there, because he was tapping into the primal Hebrew science. It was off the chain, and I said I would really love to break some of these things down and show them. And to be honest, it was helpful for what you saw happen in 2019. For those who know about the spell that broke in 2019 from 1619 to 2019. And some of his music was helpful for very specific bloodlines for 2019 waking up. Okay, then 2020 comes. 2020 it's like he knew certain things was going to happen to certain bloodlines in America. And by that, we're talking about surnames, like certain Negroes, like... And like I'm gonna do this video and do these rituals to help these people as an octave of Archangel Michael. Octave. Okay, I'm not saying he is Archangel. I'm saying the octave. That means that there's more than one, pretty much. If you're an octave of Archangel Michael, that means there's more than one. Okay, it's an archetypal concept, right? And so the thing is, what with Hebrew science is you're able to recreate archetypes and scripts of even things that you see in Kemet. That doesn't mean that it's a stolen or plagiarized. It literally means that there are purebreds that know how to recreate the concept of Isis, Horus, and was it Isis, Osiris? I'm trying to get it out. Horus, Isis, and Osiris, I believe. But if it's not Osiris, who else would it have been? But anyways, they're able to recreate that scenario and actually bring it from above, as above, so below, like literally bring it into the physical realm through other characters and other entities and other organisms. That's how powerful that science is. So when people say ignorant shit like that, we like, you just fucking ignorant. That's why people don't argue with them. Like when people be talking about, you need to prove to us about your sky daddy and prove to us that if we don't believe that he wants worship, then we're going to go to hell. That God doesn't want worship. That God is not concerned with worship. You don't even understand what the term worship means. It's a Kemet word, you idiot, that relates to developing value within yourself, worthship, testing the quality of your soul. It relates to testing the quality of your soul through contrast and taxonomy, through actual schooling and experience, fast track acceleration, pretty much. It doesn't mean to literally like worship an entity. That entity is not the creator God of the universe. The Most High is not concerned with it. If you do it, it could be probably relaxing. No more than if you were to just do mantras or the 108 beads, or how people do mantras, or or sing a song, and choir and song and dance is very important for frequency. Again, we're talking about, this is a science of frequency and sound. And frequency, again, gets turned and used against people. And you can say, oh, the fallen angels are doing that. Whoever is doing it, I don't care. Parasites, archons, whatever, demons, vampires. They're using frequency against black people. And they're doing it through the programming, obviously. The music, the television programming. And what we're saying is, like, when it comes to programming is generally, when Nakhti University uses the term programming, we're talking about teaching. And so anytime you have programming, what are you teaching? What is the outcome and what is the intentions? And if the frequency is low, then you know that they're trying to lower your frequency. And if the end goal is education plus entertainment, or just maybe even just simple entertainment, contest, competition, or whatever, something, then it could be neutral, or it could be something to raise your frequency. So you have raised frequency, neutral frequency, or lower frequency. And so a lot of the programming that you see today, let's be real, is to lower your frequency. Okay. And so what we want to do going forward is to bring back the programming that is either neutral or raising your frequency, ideally raising your frequency, shedding light, reflecting, so society can reflect on things. How does society reflect on things? How do they use their introspective skills to better themselves, and the tools, like even let's be real. We all know that they're trying to reshuffle the deck because they know that black ownership in media is zero. You know, like we had BET at one point. It was owned by Robert Johnson, and he sold it. I think I don't know how many hands it went through, but I think it's with Paramount or Viacom or Paramount at this juncture. And so now they say that this dude Ellison had bought it, and he's like with MAGA and whatever. So this MAGA people own BET now, whatever. And you see how they want to get their hands on something, but then they don't even know how to do black programming, you know. And so they wanted to own it, and then now they're trying to come up with content for BET. So they decided to bring back on Robert Johnson as an advisor with Queen Latifah and LL Cool J. Well, it's like, okay, yeah, we know who Queen Latifah is and what these might be icons in the black community, but does that mean they know how to come up with good programming? Maybe so, maybe not. I'm going to go on the women and say I don't think that that's their expertise. And this is no shade to them. I just don't think that is Queen Latifah's and LL Cool J's expertise. But this is where they want to get, like, okay, well, Black America, we put black leadership, but it'll be white finance or white owned. You know, they're trying to get into that. And so a lot of black Americans are becoming disillusioned with that. I didn't know that. And so when I didn't know that about the ownership of BET. So when I heard that Robert Johnson was coming back on as an advisor, as well as LL Cool J and Queen Latifah, I immediately thought of shows, you know, like my mind instantly went to various programming shows, like honestly, that relates to education and entertainment. Just in one day alone, I came up with 10 show ideas. Mind you, I already put a pilot idea that on here that is in a working stage, but it's a lot more developed behind the scenes now. But like just 10 shows, just in one day, 10 shows that related to entertainment plus education. So you want something that's cross-intergenerational. What is the goal of the programming? Cross-intergenerational development. I'm sorry, let me pronounce that word correctly. Cross-intergenerational development. So young and old is able to be influenced by that to develop the self. And so all of the shows that I came up with, obviously I'm not going to, they're not on a computer or anything. Like this is stuff I had to write out and not give scripts or character development. There's no setting or anything. So if somebody stole the book, don't worry about that. Like they're not able to like get the setting and the character or the treatment, the series treatment. Like one of the shows, I literally wrote out episode by episode what would take place, and so that one I'm taking a little more serious in terms of at least shopping the idea. But then, I was like, oh, we could shop this to BET. And then, Black Americans is like, no, we aren't going to support BET because it's not Black owned and it's actually MAGA owned. And they're just the advisors and we're not going to support it. So I was like, well, they said they're boycotting Paramount or something and Viacom. So I said, well, damn, can't shop it to them. But let's say theoretically Robert Johnson did not sell BET. Let's say Robert Johnson did not sell BET. He owns it still, even if he's not 100% of the owner, but he has majority stake in it, right? And he got some other people that are stakeholders as well. They have a nice board they have a nice board and a chairman or whatever, and he's the CEO still. and say they come on and say, hey, we need programming. We need good television programming for the Negro. I should have been able to have, they should have been able to reach me. I should have been able to have him on speed dial and say, hey, Robert Johnson, I'm younger. I know what's going on with, what they like and I know how Black Americans think, and I know they need the education. If we're thinking about things that can inspire the youth and the kids, you don't want just now, don't get me wrong. We gonna get some characters. Like when we say edutainment, I mean that shit. Like we talk about not just no boring ass podcast. Everybody think they can do a podcast. Everybody think you gonna be gossiping about a celebrity. No. We talking about shows, script by script. You need a storyline. Like you need characters. You need a setting. You need a plot. You need and when I say I thought of 10 ideas like it was nothing in one day. 10 ideas for show. Different shows too, different topics. And I said, well, the only requirement, because, I believe in the Most High and I believe in truth. I said, well, we got to make sure that this programming inspires. They ain't going to they can look at it and be entertained by it, but they like, damn, like, that's helpful. That's helpful. Let me go and apply that to my life now. Let me go and that give me inspiration. You want a 10-year-old. I used to watch BET when I was 5, 6 years old. We watching Players Club. We watching ass shaking and all. We're not talking about that. Now, I do have some things for the music, too. Don't get me wrong. But some of that programming on them niggas will be like, yo, we talk about self-sufficiency, sustenance, different types of programs that is, like I said, entertainment meets edutainment. Education, it means entertainment, sociology, psychology, okay, neurology. And so we want these niggas, we gonna in the hood, we gonna find some characters. I ain't gonna hold you. We gonna have some characters. We gonna have some of us that's just wow. Remember Chance and Real Dog when we grew up watching? We gonna strategically find characters that is as entertaining, that's wild. They like to perform and but we also gonna be on that serious. They gonna be serious too at times. But so, it's about this craft and this skill. And this is what the original Jacobian Hebrews had. Like, even when you see the formation of Star Wars, you could tell the bloodline that came up with Star Wars. I can. You can't tell that bloodline that came up with Star Wars? I can. Immediately. The show Happily Ever After with the fairy tales that used to be on HBO. I can tell immediately who come up with that. I know the bloodline. I can look at the last names of certain stories now. Too, like in the credits, and I could pinpoint immediately the bloodline they come from, just from looking at the last names and looking at the credits, the producers, the writers. I study that now. Same thing with Once Upon a Time. I can look at that and tell who came with a bloodline with that. You don't think that that's a coincidence that lady name is Jennifer Morrison, the actor there? So look at the concept of Once Upon a Time, right? Right. Let's just go deep here. Once Upon a Time, because I want you to look at the two main actors. Wait a minute. Let's go here. Wait a minute. The story. Okay. Once Upon a Time. Excuse me, actors. Okay, so one of the actors named Emma Swan. Remember Swan, the play on the swan. For those that's of the bloodline, you should know what a swan means, right? If you're a Hebrew. Jennifer Morrison. Morrison son is a play on being a son of a Morrison. Now, this is a white appearing woman, right? But her name is Jennifer Morrison. Then you got the one that plays Mary Margaret. For those that know, Mary is a title, okay? You have Margaret. Her name is Jennifer Goodwin. Jennifer, spelled with Jennifer, Ginnifer. Goodwin. Okay? So that relates to like a fairy, a white fairy. My name is Jenny. That also means white fairy, right? So you got Jennifer Goodwin, Jennifer Morrison. Then you got Lana Perella. She played Regina Mills. Okay, so Regina, that's like a play on like it has a frequency of a sun. S-U-N. Okay, you got Mr. Gold. So you look at these names, but then you look at the plot and some of the plots, and then you could tell who came up with it. Now, these are just the actors, but do you think the executive producer didn't think of that stuff as they purposely, or the producer rather, or the writer, or whoever come up with the cast? You don't think they thought of that? You think that that's really coincidence for her name to be Jennifer Goodwin and then Jennifer Morrison and then Lana Parrilla like that? Y'all think that's just coincidence? People think this is craftsmanship. People think hard. Just like if you look at the show Black Lightning, right? Let's look at the show Black Lightning, the drama series, and the writer name is Jenny. Now he goes by Tony Isabella, but his name is the Black Lightning writer name is under Jenny Blake Isabella, but he goes with the name Trevor Von Eden. Jenny Blake Isabella. Isa is a play on Christ. Isa is Christ's name in India. That's the Indian version of Christ's name. Isabella, Beauty Bella, Jenny, Black Lightning. And then you look at the plot of Black Lightning, right? About these super Negroes, right? And even their cosmic play, like how some of the stories was named after like Black church themes. Black Lightning theme in the Black church. Like, so you can know, like, even though like you'll know what bloodline is creating what. And it don't matter about the race. If you notice that, I know that some of these are white people, but I'm just saying, you'll know, I could pinpoint the bloodline. Just because like you'll see someone that's white appearing, it don't necessarily mean that they're white in the way you think they are. But the main theme, that's not trying to look for the Black Lightning. Oh gosh, Black Lightning theme. I want to look at the Black Lightning themes and plots. Okay, so trading global threats for grounded social commentary, community activism, and deep family dynamics. They tackled police brutality, racial profiling, institutional corruption, superheroism, framed as an extension of community defense against systemic oppression. The exploitation of Black bodies, family versus duty. So you had Jefferson Pierce, right? That's the father. And then you had, you see that the first season 1 is called The Resurrection, right? So you have Tobias Well, remember that? And then you have Anissa, which is Anissa, and a lot of people don't know that my middle name is Ann, right? And so you have Isa again, which is Christ's name, in India. So yeah, Anissa and then Jennifer. Those are the daughters, Anissa and Jennifer, okay? And it's written by Jennifer Blake Isabella, okay? Follow me here. The Book of Consequences, the Book of Occupation. So now they talk about military police and whatnot. The Book of War, you know. And so you see certain bloodlines within. So believe it or not, I do think that Black Lightning started off amazing. I don't know what writers changed around the 3rd season. I kind of stopped watching it because I felt like they wanted to bring in, like, sometimes you can mess up a show's direction with agendas. We've seen The Chai do that. We've seen a lot of shows go that route. And if you keep the purity in your message in these shows, but like Jacoby and Hebrews used to do this back in the day, like with Happily Ever After, you could see it stay. Like even the show Hey Arnold, that was Hey Arnold was actually sponsored by the Department of Education and PBS. And if you look at some of the lessons that you learn, that's the show I would allow my kid. If I had a kid, I would allow my kid to watch Hey Arnold. I wouldn't allow my kid to sit and watch a lot of cartoons, by the way. Like they wouldn't be able to allow to watch pretty much of nothing. But Hey Arnold is a show I would allow my kids to watch. Maybe Rugrats too, maybe. But I would definitely let them watch Hey Arnold because I, as an adult, is able to see the codes. And they have some high-level Jacobian science in Hey Arnold. And some things are, you see some of the sexual innuendo. I'm not saying that it's all perfect and whatnot because a lot of this stuff, you see some things. And it depends on how your perception of how your mind works too. But PBS, the Department of Education sponsored the show Hey Arnold. And I watched that show every day as a kid. And I also watched it into adulthood. And I catch things that I couldn't catch as a kid as far as the programming. And so that particular programming, I'm like, okay, I would let my kid watch that. But most of this stuff, I wouldn't let my kid watch a lot of stuff these days. They wouldn't be able to watch much of. They would be. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of what else. Probably James and the Giant Peach, that movie. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I really like that movie. I would let them watch that because if you hear that Oompa Loompa singing that, if you will live in happiness too, like the that gives some good warnings about that girl that was a brat. Remember Veronica, who was a brat, and then that dude Mike TV, who wouldn't listen, wouldn't follow instructions. It shows like the consequences of if you don't, even as a kid, if you don't follow certain things. It shows at the end how he got rewarded for having integrity. So that stuck with me as an adult. That me watching that show as a kid, that movie as a kid, I really, really enjoyed that movie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So I would allow, if I had a child, I would allow them to watch something like that, too. I'm trying to think, certain shows, and Happily Ever After, I would allow my kid to watch Happily Ever After because you learn a lot of lessons in there. But you could tell the science behind it, that they kept it to the original with the goal of that 20%. And again, performance and entertainment is only 20% of masonry. It's a very small part, and that's the part where your Nagas beings are able to perform the plays and the shows and lessons and shine for the humans to see things. To learn things as well. And sometimes just for fun. Sometimes there's no lesson in it. It's just for fun. And so, that's that time, that 20%. And some of them kept hold to what the original was. They did. And Michael Jackson being one of them. Certain, like I said, the certain shows that I just named, some of those shows they do, but you start trying to push agenda. And you start trying to push all this nonsense in it, then it loses its, or we're trying to purposely lower people's frequency, say like Zeus Network, and say like how they were putting all this stuff in the black community with fighting and the violence and dysfunctional relationships constantly on TV. That's an agenda, And so that's why a lot of people had issues. A lot of black people had issues with Love and Hip Hop. Like, see, I watched Love and Hip Hop Atlanta growing up. When I was about 18, that was my shit growing up. I watched Basketball Wives growing up. A lot of people had issues with it. You wouldn't believe in our community how the stuff I heard. Why they want that in our community? Why you always gotta be that? People had issues with power, and see, I had power. See, so I understand. These are a lot of Negroes are more conservative than what you give credit for. So just because I was I'm more wild and then oh shit, I like me some basketball. Growing up, I don't watch it now. I don't watch Love and Hip Hop now either. But yeah, when I was 18. 19, 20, I was watching Love and Hip Hop ATL all day. With Stevie, I'm not going to the strip club, Stevie. I'm not going back, Stevie. And why you got on your Molly May outfit like you always do? I got a good ass memory. I remember a lot of shit. I see you got on your May outfit like you always do. Why are you here, ho? I used to be cracking up at that Atlanta one. Or even that New York one with Jim Jones and Chrissy and Samaya, I think her name was. And Molly and all that. I used to watch that stuff when I was younger. I don't watch it now because I don't get nothing out of it. I don't do nothing from it. It makes me feel kind of, I don't know, it makes me cringe watching that. You 18, 19, whatever. But shit, I used to watch Zeus Network. So a lot of black people say, I never watched Zeus. I never was into that. I never would watch nothing like that, And they make me feel shameful. They be like, oh, you were watching that? We would never watch that, and I'm just and I get it now, because the programming is an issue, and we do have an issue with good programming in Black America. And so, that's why I took issues with even the way Zeus took a turn. It got dark. I'm telling you, Zeus was not that dark. I'm telling you. Like, I'm not saying it was all educational and enlightening. No, we know that it was entertainment. It was fuckery. It was raw, unfiltered, uncut fights. And the nigga like me like to see fight. I like to watch boxing and shit. So anything with some boxing and some fight, that's just me. I'm growing up. But I'm just saying, like, it was not that dark when we were watching that shit about 5 years ago. Like when Jocelyn's first season was on there, and then they had even when Another Chance at Love or something like that, a Real Chance at Love, even when that was on there, it just went dark, and I don't know what happened. Like it just was like, whoa. And honestly, I started picking up on it around when Erica Mena's show was on. That's when I said, "Oh, I'm checking out. Like I can't. Something's not right." That's when you could really feel it. And I never was into baddies. I did like the boy version, but I never could get into baddies. So I didn't know what they were doing on baddies at all. Like I couldn't tell you. I mean, I couldn't get into it. I tried. I thought they were bringing back the Bad Girls Club. So the first season of Baddies, when they had more of the Bad Girls Club on it with Tanisha and that, I thought that, I said, okay, I could watch. This is cool. But then it just was like bringing all of these girls. I had no idea who all these girls were. I'm like, nah, that ain't my thing. That ain't really for me, but nonetheless, I'm not here to really knock things down. What I want to do though is start to encourage, because I know that we're like, okay, we at a place in a juncture where the entertainment is not Black owned anymore, and so Black Americans are not gonna want to watch something that's not owned by us just because you put a Black face on it or Black leadership, or try to act like, they doing that now, or want them to build up these platforms and then they kick the Black folk out of it, like how they did Tubi and how they did Clubhouse. And so we're on to the game now. We're on to the game of what they're doing, like using Black energy to build something up and then like discarding them after building it up, not giving them ownership, and we know who the group that's behind it. It's that same group that's been at war with us. And it's like, damn, like what's up with that? Like, it's like birthright swiping, destiny swiping, birthright swiping, all types of stuff. So we have to be on guard, and we have to realize that them people is not like, they got caught is what I'm saying. Hear me out. They got caught. Okay. They got caught in their enshrouded taciturn warfare. This was supposed to go on for another 50 years undetected, okay? On a political level, entertainment level, military level, defense level, medical level, educational level. This was supposed to be enshrouded taciturn warfare to get the last. There's about 20% of us still left, right? We're talking about just globally, but even in Black America, you got about 20% of Negroes that see through the game and see through the matrix and was like, we're not doing that. Give or take, it could be more. It could be up to 30, 40%. But I just go off the lowest number that I try to psychically tune into, and I said, well, I'll just put it at 20%. If it's more, great, okay. And if more come back, great, even better, right? And so that attack has been ongoing, and that attack will continue to be ongoing. And so what we're saying is we caught it. And so things may look like at a juncture where you have a government trying to but they've been waged economic warfare on Black America. That's been nothing new. They may have ramped it up, but it's always been that way. And so now they want to undermine the deals because we're in a vulnerable position. So that's why you see a situation where Black people can be degraded with, like, say, Kevin Hart and the Cheryl Underworld thing. That comes, not Underworld, Underwood. Oh, you see that masonry right there? That was like a Freudian slip. Kevin Hart and the Cheryl Underworld. Wow. Nonetheless, you see that sort of degradation like that in the public atmosphere, referring to lynching and slave votes and all that, because you see, the knowing that we're in a vulnerable position when it comes to economics itself. And for certain people more than others, and certain people, they don't even care about economics. They may not have it. We're not saying we're rich, but we're certainly not going to play the capitalist game or a rigged system. We don't care. But there's people that still have to. They got grown woman and grown man bills. They got deals. They have things they gotta still deliver on. So they're not in a position, say, that we are in. So we don't understand that. Why would you let yourself get degraded like that for the Netflix deal or for a deal, whatever? we don't understand that approach. And so we refuse that. And we talk about black people that are ingenious. You think that other black people don't have ideas for good programming or inventions? They're purposely just hiding things now because it's not even worth it. They feel like it's not, it's like it makes you uncomfortable. Like even with I said when I got excited, I thought Robert Johnson was coming back to BET. I didn't know the advisory board is not the same as ownership. And so I'm like 10, like it was nothing, like 10 ideas for good programming too. We talk about education meets entertainment. We talking about the ability to come up with the character development, the setting, the story arc, the script. What is the episode per episode? What is taking place? Like that's nothing, for Naga Springs. That's nothing. It's like here's the goal of here's the goal of this show, and we talk about cross intergenerational reach. And the lessons that they learn, the inspiration that they gather from it. Sometimes even just to deal with the boredom, maybe. Maybe it's not all this highfalutin stuff, but it's Friday night. What kind of programming would be on BET on a Friday night? And we made it so where, like, the thoughts that we have, like, say if it was black owned, like, they have no idea how, like, I can't give all these thoughts out, like the stuff that, but even for Friday nights on BET, what would be, like, how could you, man, it's so amazing, some of the thoughts, like, how could you really turn that into not just like, how when we grew up, we watched City World. What was it? City Rap City. And we watched Sita's World. Remember Sita's World? And that was the first ideas of graphics or like that sort of metaverse technological Sita's World. If you look at how Sita's World was produced. That's old school 90s stuff. We were 90s. We watched Sita's World. We watched Rap City. We watch 106 in Park. And so what I'm not interested in is recreating moments. Like I really believe in innovation and creativity. And so my interest is not to bring back 106 in Park. You know what I mean? Like we don't need to be put in the 90s timeline or early 2000s timeline. We need to keep going in further into our timeline, 2026 and beyond, right? But you want to elevate the construct. And so I'm disturbed when I see like our current entertainers trying to push us back in the 90s timeline. So that makes me think they're trying to buy more time for distraction into lower frequencies or whatever else the agenda is against our people or black people rather. Because some people is not our people just because they black. And so that becomes important to discern. Okay, I don't need to go back to a 90s timeline. I don't need to see a motherfucker that I saw 30 years ago on my screen or 40 years ago. I'm not interested in that. That shouldn't be appealing to Black America. Because it's like, where is all the talent development now? That means you're trying to only go with the people in your club. They in the club, you're not in the club. But then there's more talented people outside of the club, so we don't need them anymore. It's like, why do we need to build up these motherfuckers? They've been around for 30, 40 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. And the whole Black America sees that and understand, like, don't get pushed into a 90s timeline just because we were born in the timelines. You don't know why somebody want to put you in a 90s timeline. You should continue to go into the timelines and the current timeline we're in, but in a more holistic level. A lot of us are being more health conscious. A lot of us are wanting to be more in tune with nature. A lot of us want to learn skills, learn self-sufficiency skills, learn things, grow, develop, whatever it is. And so we want to cultivate and cultivate and be able to even capitalize even on new talent, new ideas, risk-taking, things that are new, things that are ingenuity, that are ingenious, that we haven't seen yet. I don't want to go back to 106 in Park. We've been there, done that. And so I don't want to visit timelines again. That's like how they keep trying to they try to even put us back in the 60s timeline. Like that's somebody else doing that. That's an agenda that they have. And so why don't want to go forward? It should be your question. You know what I mean? Why do they want us watching somebody for 30, 40, 50 years? They getting old as hell. They tired. But they don't want to showcase the new stuff because they don't want to develop it. They don't know how to develop it. It's not even Black owned. Like we talk about like You know how Spike Lee would develop programming. John Singleton. Like, that stuff, we'll be able to watch it and be like, oh, he liked that. Oh, wow. Them days are gone. Like, people would say, well, you can be like a... They was talking about, like, you know, they're trying to program black people. And they're like, see, you could be like Lawrence Fishburne. You don't always have to just sell out. We don't know Lawrence Fishburne, for one. For two, the context of which he became a star is different than the context in which you become a star today. It just is. And so with Lawrence Fishburne, you can't compare that. You can't compare. You know, he was in The Matrix, and, you know, those writers stole that idea from Sophia Stewart, a black woman, right? As far as the idea for The Matrix is, I mean, it should be obvious. But you see, Lawrence Fishburne also played in other things, like I think we'll say was the Boys in the Hood or something like that. I mean, he probably was friends with John Singleton. He probably had connections with Spike Lee. He probably had connections with Wesley Snipes. I mean, look at the way they were thinking. Wesley Snipes was trying to start up Amon Ra Productions and all these things. Got shut down, you know. They kept shutting people down. I think they should have kept going with it because they have the talent. There's sauce, you know. And so if you were economic strapped, there's other ways to get around those type of things, is what I'm saying. You don't have to go to them same people. And this is what Idi Amin was trying to warn them about. Not just them, but all of Africa, by the way. Nonetheless, they don't know what to do. Today, they don't know what to do to black talent. And in fact, they only use black talent as a weapon against black America. Generally speaking, that's not to say that all black talent is. I'm saying the ones that do the deals, that get owned, the ones that are on their payroll. Okay, I'm not talking about just black talent in general. It's not like they're being used to. I mean, you see drill music, you see the stuff that's going on, you see like all the guns and all. Like that's not talent. That's not what black music is. So who's funding it and who wants it that way? Somebody needs it to be that way to lower a frequency. So that means just don't deal with them people. That's warfare. Why are you dealing with them even if you think it's for money? So they're using the money as a weapon against you now. And so what I'm saying is you can't compare the ways in which, you know, a Queen Latifah became a star or a Lawrence Fishburne became a star compared to how you become a star today. We don't know, for one, what the requirements were, what the criteria were, but we also don't know the logistics of the infrastructure back then. They probably had more say. These were the talent. We don't know. And so when you hear people say that just so that we can get back into their system, I'm telling you, it's a trick, is what I'm saying. So you don't have to do that. You could be, you know, and it's like, why do y'all want to work with them people still? I just don't understand it. I'm disturbed by it because I'm like, damn, you bet on everything but yourself, you know. And I have my issues, you know, but I'm like, it's not black owned, and you're giving away still the best of yourself to a group of people that hate you. And I don't think that they all hate us. I don't think at one point. I'm just saying what the agenda is now. It's like it's ramped up. It's like a quickening. And so they showing their face, they showing their teeth, they showing who they are, they showing what they want. The birth swipe you, they showing a hatred. And so I just don't understand. Like now we see them rolling out Robert Johnson, Queen Latifah. Now we see them trying to even roll out Byron Allen again. That shouldn't be impressive to black people. Do we own it? Byron Allen been around for 30 years. We still in a situation. If he had the answers, we wouldn't even be in a situation. He too clicked in with that system. Can you even trust him? You know what I mean? Like, why are they trying to make it? Why it's like trying to Jedi mind trick us. Like, it's not even no beef with these people. They are successful, and then they try to say, "Well, y'all don't want to support Byron Allen. He's already a billionaire. What is there to support? Like, whether we support it or not, he's already. That doesn't even make any sense. He has the support of the entire system. He got the support of the Billionaire Boys Club and his friends. Whether we support him or not, he is still successful. Even if we already have supported him. We already have, is the point. We already have. And we don't know who's on these people's payroll against us. Just because you see that's just like these politicians. You see a black person in a high space, it really don't mean anything. You shouldn't want it. You should get informed, but then you should be trying to create a parallel infrastructure like I've been saying for fucking 6 years. And you're not getting out of that. And God is not in it. No other way. The Most High, especially you talking about, well, you the tribe of Judah, we the tribe of Judah. Well, you know you already tasked with building your own system. You better get under the right chieftains with the right ideas and stop trying to mimic and you know them people is bought and paid for. You know them people is owned by whoever. You know them people ain't really about shit. They ain't even really intelligent. They don't have the sauce. Can't write, can't dance, can't sing, can't talk, can't not educated. And you see them, they get to act the role of it though, and have somebody roll them out in someone else's image. They've been looking for somebody to put in my image for 3 years now. I caught the plagiarism. I know who's doing it. I know who's behind it. And I see every time they roll them out, they flop like it's nothing. They flop. They've been trying to, because they need to sway the Negro energy back into their system so that they have no ownership. They want you to be a slave pretty much. Mental slavery, spiritual slavery. And so if someone is coming saying, let's just build our own parallel infrastructure and we'll figure it out, we can delegate, here's some of these blueprints, let's build this agile system. We don't need these people. We really don't. We don't. And they try to hijack something from us, violate treaties, they gave us the ass to kiss every time, have blacklisted the best and brightest of us. Why would we want to be a part of that? So now they keep trying to roll them out, say, look, guys, the system is okay. We got some black people. Look, guys, look over here. We showcasing this. And it is a whole bunch of fake ass, either bot comments, or if black people really are falling for that, that's really disappointing. You're not going to get anywhere with it. And so you would have to demand complete and total autonomy from them people to get to where you need to get to. If that's not important to you, then just say that. But just know that you're kicking the can down the road for the next generation. It will be worse for your kids. That's why I don't have kids. And they would be further enslaved. And this is soul trafficking. This planet is about soul trafficking. It's been soul trafficking for the last 2,000 years, probably even more. You need to wake up. I don't care how much they say I'm a conspiracy theorist, I'm a quack, I'm a this, I'm a that. You're getting played through 24/7. And so what I'm telling you is that if there are black folks that are want to do, why do they want us always up under them, and you don't even like us, and you know that you're racist? I just don't understand like the obsession with, we know what it's about, because we know it's about the deal structure and hitching a ride out through hitching light codes out through melanin, and also building up, keeping a system up on the back of someone. So even when it comes to your television programming, your entertainment, there's a science to that. It's scavenger magic though, and scavenger magic is horrific. Why would you practice scavenger magic if you're a black American? Is beyond me. I really, it's the most disgusting thing to watch too. And that's why black people get more in trouble than the white folks when they do it, because the Most High, you already know what you're doing. And it's horrific. So you're going to get more in trouble. You try to do scavenger magic, you're going to fail. You're not going to get it. You won't get an empire. So if you're claiming tribe of Judah and you believe in the promises of faith and the promised land and everything that God has told you and what you're going to get and inherit, and you're doing scavenger magic, especially if you're doing scavenger magic on me, you will not get anything. And that's a promise. That's a fact. I don't care how much I try to get out of that. You will not get nothing. Squat, zero, note, nothing. If you think that, and I'm telling you, boule niggas, all of y'all, who you think you getting away with doing scavenger magic on me, trying to copy, all that scavenger magic y'all do. I catch it. I see what y'all doing. You're not going to get anywhere with it. Zero, nothing. You'll be buried for the next 1,000 years. You're headed on me. And you know who I am. And y'all can sit and play, we don't know who that is. And we see you copying and plagiarizing. And I'm telling you, you do scavenger magic on me or any of these Judahite heirs, that's free. Any chieftain, that's black American. Any Nagas, that's black American. That's free. Any black American, you do scavenger magic on them, and you know that they chosen, and you know they are a child of the Most High, you are asking for your inevitable extinction. And it's a fact, and I can't say it more serious than that. Stop fucking around. This is not something to play with. Your little bullshit ass science that y'all know from them lesser gods, they bow down to us, okay? Like I said, Ogun came to me 3 times, gave me some shit, told me that the government was on my ass, told me in 2021. And I have the video to prove it because I didn't know no better. I went up on YouTube in 2020. I don't know. I said, oh, good. I got this. It's literally up on my old YouTube channel. That's why you started seeing me put the picture of old Goon, because he came to me three. That's why I started doing that, because he came to me 3 times in one night. Tahuti and Anubis visited me. Tahuti and Anubis. Osiris came to me in 2015. Still didn't know what that was. Didn't know what the fuck that was. Osiris came to me again in 2023. Was telling me stuff. Okay? Tahuti and Anubis came to me and was showing me, when all them people was dying like that, and because I thought they was coming to get me. I said, damn, they ripping. So it was just like, yep, this is what we gatekeepers. They be taking these souls on, moving these souls along. And they said, no, we ain't here for you, but we want you to watch. We want you to see. You just watching and see. And I was observing what they were doing, and they were going house to house. Motherfuckers was dying in America, and that was in 2021 too. Yeah, it was wild. Why? I said, damn, I don't know nothing about Tahuti and Anubis. They going door to door. And they writing get just ripping souls out of their body. And I said, damn. I was laying in the bed. I said, damn, it's going to be my turn. They coming. And I'm saying, Jesus, they going to give it. Oh, Jesus is a fire. Because I have a lot of Abraham. I've been raised, I was raised in a Baptist. I don't know nothing about no Tahuti to do it. Oh, Jesus. Fool, we ain't coming for you. Where you gonna get there? We want you to watch. And then I done had a dream about them big ass fireballs in Revelations. I had a dream about that in 2020. And that's when Yeshua came and said, look, so y'all could think it's a game. Y'all could think we all good. We don't give a shit about anything. The way of the world is the way of the world, regardless of your illusion, your bullshit ass illusions and delusions. The way of the world and the spiritual world is real, and the spiritual world is going to be intact. The universe is going to be intact. The cosmos is going to be intact. The science of melanin is going to be intact. The science of sound and frequency is going to be intact. Those are the highest sciences. And that does come from the Hebrew science. And that does come from the creator God of the universe. And so when Negroes and the tribe of Judah says, oh, you go dabbling in something, everybody else say they dabble in and they get sprayed and get electrocuted and get their ass fried. And they say, oh, we go to the lesser gods. But Black Americans wanted to go up under that. And so they tell you that Yahweh is a demon or an archon. Yahweh, in a very real sense, just means way of the divine feminine. Now, intentions matter. Just because you don't understand what a word really means, or it gets skewed, because it's also a combination of a war god too. You have Yahweh, and you had a combination of a war god on a lesser sense, and then the old version that is lost, that is not written down. It means way of the divine feminine. Excuse me. And it taps into the primordial. So if someone has a concept, so Yahweh is not even really an entity, it's a concept. It's like Yahweh, this concept. So when Black Americans were singing a song Yahweh, they're singing about a concept. But what is that concept, and what is the intentions of when they're singing? So people say, well, nobody knows the name of the Most High, okay? And the intentions, if the intention is if you have a group of Negroes saying, well, our intention is to tap into the Most High. And maybe they do have the wrong name. Maybe they don't know their name, and so they use the term Yahweh. The frequency of Yahweh just being a concept, meaning way of divine feminine, mixed with war energy. And the creator God of the universe sees the intention of the heart. So it's like the creator God of the universe know that they may not be, that's not my name, but they're calling on me because of the intention, the frequency of where they at. Their heart is pure. I'm seeing a pure heart, and I'm seeing them cry out for Yahweh. But in their heart, they saying the creator God of the cosmos. And then you hear the Yahweh, the divine feminine. Why are they singing that over and over again? What's this about? Divine feminine. Okay, electromagnetism, entropy. Okay, science of melanin. Okay, what's this about? Let me go see what they're talking about. And you hear that. So maybe it's not the correct name. Obviously, it's not the name. Nobody knows the name of the Most High. That is correct. I would agree with that. But the frequency of where the singing is at, what you call the worship is at. We're talking about the value and testing the quality of their soul and the frequency that they putting out through their soul. Is it a value? Is that a certain value? Equation value. And so, you have values and equations. What's the value in the equation? Somebody is trying to tap up to cosmic stuff, star systems. And so when you hear that term Yahweh, it's charged with a different frequency than what its original meaning was, or even the different meanings, say, like from the various cultures that you'll find yourself around, whether it be Sumerian or Canaanite culture or whatever. And so what I know from a primal, I don't need to study a book. I don't need to find it in a book. I don't care what anybody will come say. Well, especially, how y'all like to do with, these, y'all love to go to, academia or the a Caucasian to tell you something. I don't need them. I don't need anything. I know when I heard the term, even when I was a kid, Yahweh, the reason why you hear people say, well, why y'all saying that's the Most High? That's not the name of the Most High. That's because of the frequency. It's the intentions. And I knew instantly, I said, that's a primordial female deity at one point. It changed. You make it male. You make it a war god. Whatever. You made it a combination of things. It doesn't matter. It's still the same frequency. And see, that's the difference between Hebrew science and, like, you give all these words, like even when we say the frequency of words matter. The value that they have in numbers, we could say gematria, but gematria is just one science. It's a quantitative science. And so you hear these idiots, and I heard an idiot saying, see, the Hebrew language is demonic. Well, Yeshua knew Hebrew, so you're saying he's demonic. I heard a Christian saying this. I have the video and everything of a Christian saying the Hebrew language is demonic. And they talking about, don't say Mashiach, and what would Yeshua say? Like, and then she talking about she's a full-blown Christian. Like, you cannot remove Yeshua from his Abrahamic or his Hebrew origins. It's not going to happen. It's offensive. It's like, it's laughable. Then they kept attacking the fact that Black Americans say, yeah, and this was a white woman doing this. And she don't think, and I said, y'all don't get, and she's talking about she's a Christian. I said, do that sound like somebody that really believe in the Lord or God? That don't sound like, I'm like, she sounded nothing like a Christian. And I'm like, she sounds absolutely batshit crazy. And then she's sitting up there saying, yeah, and they use this demonic gematria, and their whole language of Hebrew is demonic, right? And they're going to use that demonic. They believe that this numerology forms geometric patterns. They believe in a numerology. Numerology is just one science, one thing. It's for a primal Hebrew, the numerology is not even important. For a primal Hebrew or an angel, gematria is not even important. What are you talking about? You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not that we don't know it. Yeah, we know it, but it's not important. It's not even like, it's something we don't have to go off of because it's the frequency and sound is the natural science of it. Now, if you got a bunch of idiots that reverse engineer something, is using something to trap people and using the equation to trap people, that ain't on us. But if you don't ask questions and ask or get up under some proper instruction because you're arrogant and you're racist and you arrogant and you want to sit and attack instead of learn because you are misinformed and scared and threatened to learn it from the proper source, that is on you. Matter of fact, you're not even worthy to learn it at this point. You're not even worthy of it. The quality of your soul has been tested and judged in the courts, spiritual courts. And this is what they call Satan, the accuser of the brethren. Satan was trying to prove to God the equations of humanity, time and time again. And it's been a court case for a long time, and it affects people to this day, including the Black American. The accuser, Satan, the adversary, the accuser of the brethren. You call him father of lies, whatever. That is not the same as the potentiator. You have the Luciferian, that's the potentiator of your soul. If you throw that deception out, if you throw that illusion out, what illusions are you capable of realizing? That's an optical fucking illusion. It's a dream. It's not real. It's Maya. It's an illusion. It's not real. Maya is a Sanskrit term for illusion, for those who don't know that. But it's ridiculous. And I'm like, do y'all not know what Yeshua said to a Canaanite woman who asked him? What would he say to these fools up here running around dragging? I'm like, y'all. I don't know if y'all upset at. And you could tell like it wasn't even so much that they just realized that maybe there's some contention about who's actually Hebrew and who's not, because we're telling you it's a bloodline based from a star system. I'll say this, and I'm about to get up off of here. I want to say this. In 2022 or in 2021, one of them, there's a Black American. She came into one of these audio space chats. And there was a group of American Indians / mostly, mixed Black Americans. But in that particular room, they were going by American Indian, indigenous, or even Moors. There was a lot of, they didn't really use the term Moors, but today, the American Indians are trying to call them Black Europeans, but that's not the right term. Anyways, there was mixtures between American Indians and Moors in this room, talking about survival and prepping and land ownership and all this stuff. And there was this lady that came in here. She asked, could she speak? And she said, I'm going to speak in a language, and I need you to get off of your mic if you can understand what I'm saying once I speak in this language. So she started speaking what they call tongues. She spoke in tongues, but really it was just an angelic language from a star system. And she said, if you can understand what I'm saying, I need you to get off your mic. I just need you to get off your mic and tell me who understands, or raise your hand. Because, at that time you could raise your hand. You could visually get a count of who's who. And as soon as she started speaking, there was like a rush of wind that came in. Like a rush of wind. And I instantly knew what she said. It was spiritual. She said, I knew what she said, and I knew that she was looking for Hebrews from a tribe, and I knew she was looking to see who in that room was Hebrew. And I got off my mic and said, you looking? And it was about 4 or 5 of us, Black Americans, all at once started screaming all at once. Oh, I know what you said. You from, the people was, and it was, she was speaking in tongues. She was literally just speaking in tongues. And she said she wanted to know who could understand her. She said, raise your hand, get off your mic. And all of us, not all of us, but a couple of, and the other people in the room was like, oh, get this crazy bitch. Obviously, that's where the crazy stuff comes. Oh, get this crazy nut off this. Oh, you disrupting. Oh, you just, there was a group of Black Americans that was on that type of time. But they were shocked to see how some of us took it real serious, because it actually brought tears to my eyes. I started to cry, felt the rush of wind, and said, you looking for Hebrews. I said, I know what you said. I know what you said. I had tears in my eyes. I knew exactly what she said. It sent chills throughout my whole body. And I wasn't the only one. It was like 4 other Black Americans that was like, I know what you said. I know. Oh, what? I know what you said. And she said, I ain't trying to disturb you. She said, I just needed to count. Because I guess they had been watching me. They had been watching a couple of us. And so they wanted to just get the confirmation. So it is a bloodline. That's why you hear all them Hebrew Israelites and all these Judahites screaming at people saying it's not a religion. It's not a religion. They won't understand that. We don't even need to argue with them idiots anymore. It is a bloodline, and it is a frequency science. It is a frequency science of sound and understanding, with aspects of it, of the science. Music is a science. That's one aspect of Hebrew science is music. The other aspect is dance. That's all. Dance, believe it or not, certain things you do with your body can open up portals. Michael Jackson was a pro at that, believe it or not. The next one is numerology, gematria, star science, earth science, elementary. So Hebrew science is very vast, okay? And the angels are certain gatekeepers of the certain sciences. So you say certain angels will know about metallurgy, certain angels know about plants, certain angels know about metaphysical properties, and they'll teach their bloodline certain things. Like me being over an invention. And I know a lot more things, but believe it or not, my specialty is certain things as it relates to, believe it or not, music, invention, and theory, like things that come up with from the innovative level, anything but like innovative and system processes. So governance as well, a lot of things with governance and intelligence. And we say intelligence, we talk about even military science too. So that's why when I talk to the Negroes, I haven't not been able to get access to them in the way that I want. And I haven't been able to get access to teach them the more innovative aspects of things. And it scares me because I know that we're under siege and in warfare. And so I don't even feel comfortable talking about a lot of those things anymore. Then, in a theoretical world, if we just had our own stuff, we would teach them, excuse me, here are these inventions, here are these ideas. I want you to do this. I'm going to teach you, and then you're going to know how to invent. The thing is, they economically wage warfare on us. So it's like, then they got to somebody going to give them a contract and a deal, whatever, and say, here's this invention. And then next thing you know, they're stealing it from them. And so that's like they did with the music. So we cannot have that anymore. And then, we're not, it's just no way we can do that. We're not giving them these type of ideas for them to be able to steal things still through contracts and acting like that's not what they're doing. And acting like they're not sellouts among us who's trying to get us to go that route. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have a fair agreement and a scope of work agreement and work with other people and understand things. But we're saying that we've been exploited enough and there's been too much exploitation where you can't even trust it. And even if you go to, like, say you're a black entertainment lawyer, you can't even really trust them. Or if say you go to someone, you don't know if you get set up or not. Look at what happened with Crip Mac, for those who want to know and study his deal. Crip Mac, that who's in jail for right now for 5 years, study his deal. His own people did that to him. Watch the interview with Adam 22. He was trying to help him, whatever, but it was a breach of contract, right? Study what happened to Crip Mac. They've been doing that shit to our people, and now it's our own people doing it to each other. That way, we talk about even black people setting up people with these contracts, but it was they were taught that reversed engineered bot science. And it's just not our world. And it's not our environment. And so it makes me solemn to understand that what would be the solutions to even dealing with such a group of people that would even think that that's okay. And they may back off, but do you ever really trust them? If they are backing off, but can you ever really trust them? If they could have got away with it, they would have. Is what I'm saying. I was supposed to be under MK Ultra talking crazy out of my mind for the next 50 fucking years. Giving out, and this is what it was supposed to be for me. And not just me, but, and then niggas are supposed to be under, other niggas supposed to be under MK Ultra too, for one. And worshiping fucking that Trump and his white system. That was the goal. And they were supposed to all be laughing about it. These billionaires were supposed to be laughing about it. Look what we did to Kylie J.N.S. Look what we did to Jenny. She was talking all that pro-black stuff. Look what we got. We got her. Her own people sold her out. Look how we got them. And then we tracked them too. We trapped them too in contracts. They are slaves too. This is what they wanted, but they don't have that. They got a war on their hands. I'm not fucking with these people. Y'all can fuck with them and be a bitch to them people. I'm not threatened by them. They threatened by me. I don't fear them. And stop saying that they think that black people are inferior to them. People that act like that don't think you're inferior. They don't think you're inferior. They're not going that hard at you because they think you're inferior. I've met superior beings from Saturn and 125D and 22D, 45D. I've met superior ancestors. Okay? I met Yeshua. I know what it's like when somebody is actually superior to my frequency. And they don't act like that. A person that really, really think that they superior, or they know they got a more knowledge than you, more frequency than you, more awareness than you, they don't act like that. The way that white supremacist system acting like that towards us. They don't act like that. That's not how you act when you really think you're superior to someone. Okay? Wake up. And now, when you meet somebody that actually know more than you, have more gifts than you, they don't have no problem actually helping your silly ass. They won't have no problem helping you. They actually look out. They're like, look, I've met them. I've seen how they act. Sometimes they'll that's little brother, that's little sister, that's like a kid. It's like a baby that don't know any better. And we can help them. Or not. Or they can help themselves. Or we can show them something, and if they understand it, if they get it, and if they want our help, we will help them. And if they come correct with some respect, they're not saying you better worship me and get on your knees and or trying to stop you or block you or sabotage you, shadow ban you, blacklist you. That's not how you move. Or copy you and steal from you, plagiarize. That's not how. They don't think they superior to you. That's not how a motherfucker that think they superior act. And you better know that. A motherfucker that really think they superior to you do not act that way. Under no circumstances. So y'all better wake up. That's somebody that's trying to drag you down a pit of hell with them. And y'all better just, I'm just saying, they're trying to drag your frequency down. They are. And so we don't want to be distracted with y'all bullshit. None of y'all niggas on y'all payroll, none of them sellouts on y'all payroll either. Tell them to get the fuck up out of here with that shit. That's what you say. Get up on out of here with that bullshit. Miss me with that bullshit. That motherfuckers been trying to distract us. We don't give a shit about none of that shit. Some of it's entertaining. Some of it, yeah, we may look at it, the news and all, whatever. But no. We want some new innovation. I don't want to see the same motherfucker twirling on my screen for 30, 40, 50 years. Get the fuck on. Shit, I get up there and twirl. A lot of people don't know. I could cut a jig. I could motherfucking dance. You throw any song on, I'll dance my motherfucking ass off. And I could sing. And I could produce music and write music. You put a piano in front of me, you could play. I remember when I was at Young Church, they used to say, when did you learn to play the piano? Why you ain't never tell us you know how to play the piano? Because I can naturally play it. I don't need to learn. I don't know how to read sheet music. Shit, I don't want to sit and remember from the 60s. Okay, we got new material. I mean, I'm just saying, like, why are we not keeping it moving? Like, why are we not keeping moving forward? Like, why is this? It's like a stagnation. You know, this is a bioship, okay? Planet Earth is a bioship, okay? Sun Ra had told us that. It's a bioship. And so you have to understand that its destination is unknown, but it's also that creative raw potential. While we here, we evolving. We are learning things. We unlearning things. We programming things and we unprogramming things, okay? So I just don't understand that world. That world is deception. That world is a lie. I'm telling you, it's a lie. And it's coming from them people. And I don't care what them people say. I don't care what black person they put out there in front of us and try to distract us with. See, he got ownership in this. He got ownership. He see. Now that's the thing. I'm telling you where they're going. They're going trying to get you from building your empire, from get you from not seeing that you need a nation, from getting you to see that you're being used as a battery in a system that hates you, that you're dealing with satanic ritual abuse, narcissistic abuse, psychopathic abuse, gaslighting. This is what they're trying to do to you. And so you're going to have to really see that. And they'll use your own against you. They don't care. Them people are already owned by them. They got contracts, lifelong contracts. You don't know what kind of people they rolling out amongst us to distract us with. We can support them. We don't have to. If they want to come out, then we there for them. If they're coming out of that system, but they better be using their influence to push up some real shit. No, these narcissists, they just want to be all up in the limelight, grifting and stealing off of somebody else shit. And I just don't respect that. I see it. I seen enough of it. I seen it. And I'm like, okay, and y'all get worked up over the smallest little things. Like I said, these little shows, we got 10 shows in one day that could be used for good programming, storylines, all that stuff. And it'd be educational. And it ain't just no podcast and talking about who, Cheyenne Bryant, her degree, she doesn't have a degree or some shit like that. It ain't gonna just be no podcast and gossiping fest and gossip. Oh, so and so did this, did. No, real motherfucking shit. Jacobian way, just like how we had a happily ever after, some real shit. Hey, and if we ain't in control of it, then we ain't gonna produce nothing for this system. And I'm letting you know that now. Y'all can get mad at me all you want. I'm not producing nothing for that system. I'm going to try one time to shop something for them. I'm going to let them send me a contract because I know the idea is good enough. And I know what I got on my hands here. And I know that it's potentially it's a 100 million idea at the very least. It's a 100 million idea. That's just one of my motherfucking ideas. It's 100 million. Just like my Iranus idea was $1 trillion idea. Proven. NVIDIA used it. Okay, I got it. I have a $100 million idea just off of one idea that I just came up with yesterday, and I'm gonna shop it, and a nice professional package like we're supposed to, and I'm gonna see what kind of contract they give me, and I'm looking for certain things in it. I'm looking for certain things in it. If it's that shit, I know what I'm looking for in it. And then we'll know what's on our hands. We'll know what's on our hands here. But I'm not going to shit because they say, oh, I'm making an excuse. There's Black American angels that's telling me you just making an excuse because you scared of success. You scared to be successful. You just using that as an excuse, talking about contracts and all that stuff. Okay, I'm going to put it to the motherfucking test. One idea, professionally packaged, with everything that these executives are looking for, these companies is looking for. I know what they looking for. I did the research. Okay, I'm going to send the pack. I'm going to pitch it to them. I'm going to send them the pitch deck and everything. I'll send them the pitch deck, see who get back to me. Okay? And see what they offer and see what we negotiate. And I'm looking at that contract. And I am going to look at it. And I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not telling them. I'm just letting them send in and see where it's at. I took a law class at Columbia University in contract law, technology and law. And one of the things we looked at was contracts. And y'all could say it was taught by you know who. And y'all know they had us all in there. I was in there too, but it was other, who's in there too. So I guess that's probably why they was teaching us this stuff. But I'll tell you this. The goal of it, what we was looking through the contracts and seeing like what was supposed to be in there, what was not supposed to be in there. So we looked at a typical confidentiality agreement, an NDA, a scope of work agreement, a technology and law agreement. We was looking at all these things, and we would see the crazy stuff that just put in out of nowhere about your intellectual rights, your property rights, your copyright, your ownership, all this stuff, your option fees, whatever it is. We would look at that stuff and they'll be like, why is this back here? And she said, that's totally legal. If you sign it, it don't even matter. You signed it. And I'm thinking like, well, why would that be there? She was like, that's what the people would do. Is deceptive like that. She was teaching us. She was like, just because you think this is not supposed to be in there. And I remember I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's not even supposed to be in there. That's not supposed to be in that section. Now, why is that there? Why is that? And she said, they could put it there. If you don't read it, you don't read it. They put it right at the last page or somewhere just stuck up in the middle where it's not even supposed to be. And you're like, well, I wouldn't sign that. I'm not signing that, But she said that's what they do all the time. That's the name of the game. And I said, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. Why would you purposely try to trick someone? Why would you purposely try to? Because they're trying to steal shit from you, right up under you. And so but there's a group of Black Americans saying that all of them is like, I understand you do need agreements and paperwork and things that you can use when people don't hold up the end of their bargain and stuff. I understand that. But then they say, I'm just using it as an excuse because I'm being lazy. Okay, motherfuckers. Okay, because okay, we'll see. And if that contract come back with some bullshit in it, then my suspicions are correct, and I am going to chill. I'm not going, but if I'm wrong on that, I'll admit that shit. That's actually a fair agreement. I could work around that. They willing to negotiate with me. They willing to do fair partnership. They not bringing that bullshit in. They willing to do fair partnership, and I can negotiate and speak freely on. Okay, no, I'm not. That's non-negotiable. These certain things is non-negotiable with me. I'm not thinking of how much money I can get now. We thinking about in terms of rights. We thinking about in terms of ownership. And I understand partnerships. I understand fairness. And if someone is distributing and producing something that they gonna need a cut, I understand that shit. I'm not stupid. I understand that. Okay, when it comes to the royalties and then what the derivative works, we looking at derivative works here. We want to, okay, I'm going to be looking, okay? My eyes going to be, I'm telling you, as one of my family members, they say when I was a little kid, my eyes didn't miss nothing. My motherfucking eyes don't miss, and my eyes ain't that big either. They'll be bulging out my head. I got pretty almond-shaped eyes. But my eyes going to be motherfucking looking, scoping, looking hard. Especially with something like that. So y'all say, I'm just don't want to do the work, or I'll just be in. We'll see. I'm gonna pitch the idea. Maybe they done blacklisted my ass so bad, and we ain't working with that bitch. And then she sitting up there and went and got shit copyrighted and went and then got shit registered and all types of shit with proof of concept and got proof that she the owner and creator of that shit. We can't even steal this shit from her. We gonna have no choice but to negotiate fairly with her and collaborate with her as a partner. She looking at the language. She gonna see certain shit. She gonna catch certain stuff. So maybe they'll say, you know what? We don't even gonna respond to her, nothing she talking about. Maybe they will. But for the niggas that keep saying, you just using that and this. And I'm saying they say this in dreams. I ain't saying nobody said it to me, but I'm saying you just using that excuse. You need to just go live your life. And we'll see. You know, I could be wrong on that. And I'm one of them motherfuckers. If I just got too caught up in the conspiracy theories and believing, oh, that's the Satan and all this stuff, then I could eat that. Then I could admit that I was wrong on that. Sure can, but I'm not about to be pounced on. I know what temptation look like, and I know I have to have discernment, you know, and I'm not money driven. I like the idea of production and producing and creating and innovating. And so that's what gets my rocks off. And so it's unfortunate that, we in this situation where a lot of us feel like we can't fully show our talents or be ourselves without compromising ourselves, you know? And so a lot of us just be like, well, we just do the bare minimum, or we just do the basics just to get by, so we don't have to give our energy out for nothing. That's how we feel. But maybe it don't have to be that way. I don't think it has to be. I really don't. But like I said, going forward, let's try to get ownership of our programming in terms of what we produce and entertainment. If we can get that would be nice. Like I said, if Robert Johnson still owned BET, I'm telling you, no lie, my motherfucking ass, I would have been like, look, we got 10. And he said, yo, we need a revamp. We showing too much Baby Boy. We done got Tyler Perry is played. We done exhausted all the Tyler Perry movies. We done exhausted all the Baby Boy. We done put Baby Boy on there. We done exhausted. We need a whole new lineup of motherfucking shows. Who can we cultivate? And he was the owner, and some other niggas was the owner. I've been like, yo, here's 2 shows that's off of GP. I got 7 more shows. Let's do good business. Here's this 2 shows off of GP. Look at these concepts right here. I got 8 more shows for you. 8 more show ideas. You like those? Let's do more. They off the rip. And that one, you see that's the actual pitch package for an actual show. You see the storyline. You see the setting. You see the characters. You see the story arc. You see it episode per episode. You think I'm playing? I came with that on my own, and I got it copyrighted. The materials, the writing materials. That's a whole script. That's just on reality TV. We got some things we can have for kids too. And so that's the type of time I want our people to be on. Like, I don't want to be, why we always have to go to them. And it's like it feels that way. It's unfortunate. And for them to try to cover that up and act like they wasn't plotting on our people like that. But then at the same time, you had a group, they wouldn't have been able to get it if somebody wasn't willing to sell it out. You have to understand that too. And Jesus was warning against that. Y'all could say, yeah, Jesus not this. He that. Yes, that's exactly what if I'm lying, I'm flying. I'm telling you, that's what them parables was warning people about. Not just that Paul was more. All of this is what it's warning about. It was warning against that. And that book is 2000. That book is old, so you can't say just the New Testament alone is about 2000. You know, so it's like that book is way older than that, though. So it's like you can't say that it was not warned. It was warning. They didn't care. That's why they wanted them to denounce God. They wanted them to put on them dresses. That's a curse. They wanted them to put on that dresses. They tried to think about the dietary law stuff. God, honestly, I know that I'll be thinking like, oh, you shouldn't eat pork. You don't have to eat pork if you don't want to. But if you read Timothy chapter 4, read the book of Romans, and read Acts. Read Acts 1, 2, 3, or 4. Acts where the situation with Peter. God don't care about that. Actually, Hebrews was told, y'all could stop saying that those animals are unclean now. Now, people bring up about the situation with the demons being put in the pork. There's demons put in everything now, about the Bay of Pigs or whatever with the New Testament. Come on, you don't think there's witchcraft all over your food now? It's all types of bullshit in your food. Your food is fake. Even the deers don't even eat the fruits and vegetables. So all that bullshit y'all talking, it don't even. I mean, you could be sensible and health conscious, right? But when I hear people give me those religious pious arguments to judge and all this stuff, I already know they out of their mind. I'm like, you just in religion, because to be honest, read Timothy chapter 4 about the judging of the what's unclean food and what's unclean now. The Sanhedrins had got rid of that. They did take that from Yeshua, because Yeshua says it's not what goes in the body that makes you unclean. It what comes out of your motherfucking mouth that makes you unclean. It's your soul, it's your character that makes you unclean, not what you eat. But you want to be sensible. Don't make it a stumbling block. That's what it say in Romans. I think it's in Romans and Galatians. Like, yeah, don't have it as a stumbling block, but at the same time, like, shit, if you don't stop saying stuff is unclean and being judgmental of what somebody else want to do or eat. And so, you have to be sensible though, because they like to do that too with the they like to have Black Americans eat a lot of pork and lobster, thinking that that's also going to be a curse on them. But they don't realize that that is such a childish way of thinking. And some Rod knew that too. It was like, they really think that God don't care about that. Like, that's so stupid, because they were like, well, if we get them to do everything that's against their bloodline and their birthright, then they're going to lower their frequency enough, and then God is not going to recognize them. So that was why they was making them put on the dress, the black man put on the dress and all that stuff. And that's why you hear even some Black actors say that it's a curse. You hear them. Even a black male said, like, after he put on a dress, it was like he felt like he was cursed because he knew he was a Hebrew. That's what they try to do, but that don't mean you have to worry about that. And then, again, Yeshua knew that was going to happen. That's why he gave you the equation. That's why he gave you the equation of repentance, because he already knew that they was going to be doing that to the people through them contracts, and then have you sign the contracts. And then there's entities on that contracts that's made with certain magic. And, again, certain bloodlines get targeted more than others. And so what I would tell people is that, like, you don't have to look at it like that. Like, oh, if we did this, but you also use your discernment. Like Yeshua said, follow the 10 Commandments. Stay away from all conventional things that will cause you to fail. So that's stay away from the 7 deadly sins. Watch out for that. Try to combat that. Work on your inner demons and your inner demons and inner adversaries. Go through those processes of trying to evolve from that, like I do. And then lastly, remember the kingdom of God is within. So love you, Lord your God, with all yourself, with all your heart and all your mind, and love your neighbor. And neighbor means your bloodline. In Hebrew, the proper word for neighbor translates to bloodline, and not the people in your physical proximity, believe it or not. So, those are 2 commandments. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your mind, and love your neighbor. And then, he said, follow the 10 Commandments. Don't steal, don't kill, don't like that's all. And if you do, and go by grace. If you do fall by, if you do mess up, because you go by grace and just learn and repent and don't do it again. That's the simple thing, because he already knew that they was using this certain science against a certain group of people, like for bondage though. Like, to lower the frequency, to get to break their soul, pretty much. They want to break your soul. They do. And take your will to live. And so the Hebrew science is, believe it or not, about a big portion of it is about will, believe it or not. A huge portion of it. Considerably huger portion. More than what people believe or realize. And that's what it means when it says believe in miracles. And that's why we watch The Prince of Egypt. Remember, certain programming used to teach you some shit. But believe it or not, the Prince of Egypt, that would teach you that teach you something. Believe it or not, that Prince of Egypt, that one will. Hey Arnold, believe it or not, like, even if you were in the game and you understand like contract law, believe it or not, the Little Mermaid talks about that just a bit. The Little Mermaid, even the situation with the Beauty and the Beast, how Belle was this eccentric chick that liked to read and was really intelligent, and then how the town was all against her for being a woman that wanted to read, and then and her father was an inventor. It teaches certain things, So remember about these that's programming, like the Prince of Egypt. I wanted to break down the Prince of Egypt. I wanted to break down a couple of shows that I wanted to break down that still got some pretty cool stuff in it. Even some of the modern ones. We have to evolve. I know people was talking about the Cheyenne Bryant thing. What's my thoughts on it? I mean, obviously, because everybody dogpiled on her. I like her for other things, but not for, what's it called? I don't think I knew within 3 minutes of her talking that she ain't had no PhD. I like before that shit blew up. I think that's when she was doing that. She was on that podcast with Joe Budden. I saw just a small clip because I don't watch the Joe Budden podcast, but I saw a small clip but about the situation with her getting into it with that white boy. And I knew within 3 minutes. I said, that's not it. She don't have a PhD. There's no way. Because even PhD don't mean you're an intellect. PhD don't mean you're smart, right? But there's a certain way in which academia trains the way you talk. The level of writing and the level of writing and reading that you have to do, you talk a certain way. That don't mean that you're intelligent, though. I'm not saying everybody with a PhD is intelligent, because they're not. But the way Western academia is set up, you're going to walk the walk. That means you know how to talk the talk. Like even with me, you know, I say some wild ass shit. I have some wild ass theories. But nobody could doubt that nobody would say that person is not educated. Like nobody would doubt. For one, you can go look up the degrees, but then even like, I am a PhD candidate, you know, but I have master's degrees, you know, it's like, and I am Ivy League educated. There's nobody that would doubt that, regardless. You may not agree with what an academic says. Like, you may not agree. The person may have really controversial, very provocative views, right? Like, fuck that, you know. But there's no one would doubt. No scholar would. No, black or white, wherever they are in this country. Like, even, I think my papers have been read in by certain academics. I could see the analytics, but probably close to 50 countries now, all over the world. And so there's no one that would doubt that person is an academic. Like, we may not agree with everything she say. Sometimes she may be saying some stuff that is off the wall, but that's the value of academia, in which a professor or an academic should be able to say very controversial things to push innovation forward. And this is what's missing in academia. Like, you used to be able to have some really cool or eccentric ideas, but now they just want everything programmed. And that's why I don't like academia. I like academia, but I don't like the way the Western pedagogy is turning it, where it's like, your speech is getting stifled, or it's like censorship even in academia now. That's kind of off topic of what I'm going to talk about with the Cheyenne Bryant thing. But I knew within 3 minutes. I'm like, she cool. She, you know, I said, for one, when they showed the outfit with the young Jeezy that she had on, I thought the outfit was cute. But I said, she is in video. You know, I'm kind of psychic. Like, I on some level, and those who watch some of my tarot videos and can see how I predicted all them world events, I am psychic on some level. Like, I'm not saying I'm the best psychic. I'm not. But I knew instantly. I said, she was in music videos, and she's in the game. Like, I knew that. I said, she's not educated. She don't really come off educated to me. But before that little fizz thing came out, I saw her energy, and I said, she is in the industries type stuff with the music stuff, with music videos. And then that's when I found out she was all on that Shannon Sharp and Cam Newton and all that. And I said, oh, makes sense. I said, she don't fool me. But I also knew, and if I'm lying, I'm flying. I said, she not being herself. She playing a role. I said, she like women. I said, it's either she was with something with women. So then I go on another forum and do a little research. All of these black women was coming out, right? All these black women was coming out saying Cheyenne Bryant is a lesbian last time we checked. She's a lesbian. She's not married. Why is she giving advice to married couples, to straight married couples, and she's a lesbian? And I said, where the hell is that coming from? I said, it's funny because I looked at her and I peeped that. I said, you know, I'm kind of psychic on some level. I could hear when a woman talk, and I could hear and the thing is, what's unfortunate is because when she was on the Joe Budden podcast, Joe Biden, she was on the Joe Budden podcast, when she made the incident about how white people use their white privilege to police what black women wear, and then it was kind of off context. It wasn't that her point was wrong; it's that she just is not articulate. She's not educated enough on that. And so, I would have actually defended her point up into her stating that dude was offended. That white boy was not offended, and that dude didn't have an issue with the outfit. He wasn't really. So that part when he was like, "What?" She said, "You obviously did take offense." No, he didn't. He didn't. That didn't mean he was offended. That's not how men think. But I would have defended her on her point where, well, like say if she would have said that and how people was just like, what? How they attacked her for it. I would have been like, well, in history, what she means is the context of a white person. This white man does not have any right to speak on what a black woman wears because the historical context of certain laws that was passed to police black women's wear. For one, even being the Tiggon laws from the 1800s. I would have defended her, that point. I would have been like, yeah, she's talking about how in the 1800s, there was a law passed to monitor that was called Tiggon laws, Tignon, in which black women was not allowed to wear their hair out. They had to cover their hair. I said, not only that, in the workplace and even in military protocols, you see where black women cannot wear certain hair styles. You know, you couldn't wear an afro or braids. And so that's a policing. Not only that, you know, you see, so you have the politicization of black women's bodies, you know, even in slavery. And so, and fetishizations, okay? And so she was right to say that you as a white man, you don't have any, you don't use your privilege to speak on what a black woman is wearing because of that power dynamic and the history of Tiggon laws, the history of fetishization of black women's bodies, when you have Sarah Bartman. Not only just that, but when you have the ways in which black women's bodies were done, were medically used for a lot of the science as far as the OBGYN science, gynecology was built on experimentations on black women's bodies. And so obviously, I would have went there because I wouldn't have let them try to play her. And, you know, black men, they love to defend the white man. So they was defending him over her, making it seem like her pain would, like, she may not have been able to articulate all of that, but she knew, like, well, you don't have a right to, don't use your white privilege to speak on what black women wear. That's coming from that's a real legitimate, valid, you know, critique. But she couldn't articulate. That's how I knew she didn't have no PhD. I'm like, no, psychology? Nah. I said, no, that ain't it. But I wouldn't have been like, well, what you should have, I would have been like added to her point, like, well, nah, this what she mean. This what she mean, like, nah. Now, when she tried to tell him you was offended, that means no. That was another dead giveaway too, that she didn't have no PhD. Her inability to see the nuance in the construction of logic between that let me know. I'm like, so but I didn't know it was going to take an uproar. Like the black community, y'all went ham, like y'all ate off of that. These people wanted that in the algorithm. These people was going hard. And I ain't gonna hold you. That was a little weird to see. But at the same time, I understand that there's a lot of people that work hard for these degrees and work hard and pay out of pocket, go into debt. And so you don't want to cheapen it where somebody could just come out and say they're a doctor or they're a psychology expert. Now, this is what Cheyenne should have said. And I don't think she can walk the walk. I don't think she can talk the talk. And I don't think she's an academic. And I don't think she's even being herself. Her acting like she, when she said, they were looking for somebody traditional, and they thought that she could play the role. They knew she wouldn't. She knew she wanted the role. She was in Video Vixen Girl, and so when she was talking about on that show about, well, I grew up with a black father in the house and we had, and she's talking about this catering thing and this pandering thing. I'm not gonna hold you. That's not. Black men don't raise girls that way. That's how I highly doubt that, for one. And is your father Black American? See, this is the kicker. A lot of black girls with the black fathers in the house, and a lot of people, I was adopted, but I lived with my adopted sister after my adopted granny died. She was married. I had a brother-in-law. He would be the father in the house. He was in their 40s when I was like 9 years old. They were in their 40s. It was my sister and my brother-in-law, and they raised us. And he worked at National Field. He worked, a job, and took us to church and took us on vacation. Was the provider, wasn't really like an emotional person, but like he would take us out to eat. He would take us out to vacations. He would take us to the movies sometimes. He would take, so we know things about fathers in the house. So technically, even though I don't really talk much about it, There was a father in the house. Not only that, my own father, my own biological father, would come and visit me. Okay. He would visit me, even when we were in foster care. He would come every week and visit. I know what it looked like. Then I went to a church with a male pastor who took a liking to me, not in a sexual way, but just like that girl is really intelligent. He was impressed by that, you know. And I went to a church where they had fathers in the house. Okay. They had fathers in the house. And if you notice the caliber of the women that come out, that they don't act like that. That's not how they talk or act. They actually, contrary to what, and this could be tested, they actually are raised to be more in line with how, I talk about the divine feminine and feminist, which is ironic as fuck. As much as black men, they took their man at the house. Oh, we can't stand this feminist. Miss Andre. Oh, you can't stand those women. The women with the fathers in the house, they are raised that way. Every time I met a black woman with a father in the house, they were bougie, had high standards, and were too high maintenance. A lot of people feel like they too high maintenance. That's because that father knows they gonna run into some bullshit. It's niggas that ain't shit out here. It's niggas that, and they want them to have more discernment and to have more independence, because these niggas is not gonna take care of you. It is a high chance that they will not marry you. It is a high, like the men that decide to stay in the house are already aware of that. You know, when I grew up, when I heard my brother-in-law say, "Don't be a fucking statistic." And when he would watch Maury, when we would see that shit, he would look down on that shit. He would be like, "Oh, like, that's a statistic." So in my head, even at 10 years old, 11 years old, you hearing somebody say, "Oh, that's a statistic," and just walk off, and look at this, when you see all that. I'm 1,000%. That's the baby. They got 10 different babies. That's the baby daddy stuff. And that statistic, we would hear him say that. And so that in my head, I was like, okay, don't do that. Whatever that is, don't become a statistic. That's all I remember him saying. Don't become a statistic. Or then I remember when one of my family members, he was like, "We have to go to ghetto ass," and I'm not gonna say her name, but I know everybody in my family remember that shit. When we would have to go for Christmas or whatever, and it wasn't his, it was his wife, it was my sister's, my adopted sister's, family member. I'm not gonna say the name, no, because that shit used to be funny as. But when we would have to pack up and pack up the van and we have to go to ghetto ass house, so and so's house. We have to go to ghetto ass so and so's house, and we would start laughing because I didn't care about ghetto. Ghetto didn't bother me, but it really bothered him. Like this dude that's playing Jimi Hendrix. Like they would call him white boy. He was a black man though, but they call it. He was a guitar player. So he would play Jimi Hendrix. He would play at the Grill. He would play like music. Like people know him as he was a guitar player. So they would know he would play at these different bars and stuff. He was a good guitar player. He would, and so, that was his thing. So we weren't raised in that type of way. That's why you see that people she's neurodivergent. She's really eccentric. Well, that's how, that's what I was raised with. Don't be a statistic. Don't, kind of looking like, what in the world? And that was his thing. He would. I didn't have no issue with the hood or nothing like that. Because we were just up the street from the hood. We might not, his father owned his home and passed it down. And all the black people on that block had owned their home. My principal from Hutch Tech lived about 4 doors down from me, okay, in a nice-ass house. And so, but right up the street, that was right up the street, that's the hood. So we didn't care, and we would play over there. So we ride our bikes over there. So to me, it didn't bother me, but for him, he would ban us from going on certain blocks. We would sneak anyways, but we would ban from going on we would sneak, we're not allowed to. And everybody would look like, "Oh, y'all so lame. Y'all got to wear helmets for y'all bike. Y'all can't be cool like us. You can't go on this block. You can't dress this way. If you wear Aeropostale and Abercrombie, you can't wear what we wear. You can't do what we do." So we kind of felt like, damn, whatever. But, it would be funny when he was like, we have to go to ghetto ass house. You're going to be smoking weed. You're going to be... They're going to be playing that loud music. And I have to work. And I have to. I'm looking like, Lord have mercy. But, you know, when I was talking about the poetry then and the basketball, that, you know, that was just, those were things that was encouraged. You got my first basketball pump and my first basketball. You know, and I remember he said, I'm getting her a basketball. The girls done got enough. They ain't buying no more shit. I remember I said, I'm buying no more shit for them. And I ain't getting them, no, they ain't getting nothing. Don't let them put nothing in that cart. Don't let them put nothing else in that cart. And he said, well, I told her I was getting a basketball pump. Put it back. I told her I was getting a basketball pump, and I'm getting her the basketball pump because I wanted, so she could play the basketball. And he did that. And I always remember that. You know, a lot of things, you know, you remember things. He was a man. It was frustrating. I seen how he dealt with racism. I seen the effects it had on him, you know. I seen the frustration, and I seen him work every day. Get up at 4:00, go pick his wife up, bring her home. Then the kids come out to go take them to school. He took the older ones to school. We still took the cheese bus. He took the older ones to high school every day, and then went to work. Then got off work. And then either probably interact for like 1 to 2 hours, and then go rehearse at the studio. That was his thing. And it wasn't perfect, but I'm not gonna act like it was the worst thing. But when she said that, I'm like, all my friends, when you think they don't act like that they're not male identified. What I'm saying is, Black American men don't raise their daughters to be male identified. A lot contrary, if they're in the house, I'm talking about if they taking fatherhood serious. Now, if they not taking fatherhood serious, and they, you know, I've seen people that, I know somebody that got 10 kids that didn't raise none of them, and his daughter is a fucking prostitute out in the streets. Okay, didn't raise none of them. But I'm saying, if they in taking fatherhood serious, they're not raising their kids to be male identified. They're not raising their daughter to go pander and cater to another man. Not if they taking fatherhood serious, not given the conditions that we have in Black America. I'm saying that from experience and what I know and what I've experienced. I've seen I've been around Black Americans my whole life. Every Black American female that I have, and they said they father took fatherhood serious, like on them. They didn't raise them to be male identified. They're not male. They wouldn't raise them to be. It wouldn't be worth it. They'll be cruise. They'll be got. They'll get got. In other words, they'll get got. And a lot of Black American men know that they'll get. If I raise her to be male identified, she's gonna get got. She's gonna be a fucking single mother around here, or not have her shit together, or be a fuck up. She'll get got by a nigga, get pimped somewhere. That's how it's subconscious. They may not consciously think that, but it's subconscious. They're just like, when I heard, that's a statistic. Don't be a statistic. Don't be a statistic. That's stuck in my mind. That's programming. Don't be a statistic. Don't be a statistic. Like, you know, that's hard. We go to church. Now, the only thing we did was that takeout. We ate a lot of, we did not eat healthy. That's the only thing. That he had no control over that. He liked to eat and we liked to eat. So that was our thing. But when she was making it seem like, well, I had a father house and we have to cater. And I'm like, girl, you a whole lesbian, for one. Two, that is not true. Black American men, is your father Black American? Because Black American men don't raise their kids, their daughters, to be male identified if they taking fatherhood serious, and they in the house and they're actively in there. I mean, talking about every day you see them, every day you observe them, every day you watch them. They're not raising you to be. They are not raising you to be male identified like that, even traditional like that. It would raise you to be intelligent. I told you, like, I didn't get compliments on my looks or nothing else from even my biological dad. I got compliments on being intelligent and really as a kid. So that's the only, when I realized that's a part of programming. A kid, I don't get compliments if I wear this, I dress like this, or if I do my hair. I'm not getting compliments on that. I'm getting compliments based on my intelligence. That was the first experience with a man. So it was like, okay, the only thing, okay, I gotta be more and more intelligent, more. And it's like, oh, this girl went off the fucking rails. Slow down. I'm like, hold up. But that was the only thing that's because that was the only compliment that I got from my father. Oh, well, you're very intelligent. Oh, you're very analytical. Or you see, I know your mind. Oh, wow, that mind. Oh, that's very creative. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's very intelligent. So that's what you want more of. But then you can take that to the real world. of men. You see, this the difference. So I know that what she's saying is not accurate because the women, they tend to be, they're not being raised to be male identified. They're raised to be very intelligent, and then that's the way you're programmed. So then it's like you grow up, and then you go to in a black community, the overarching, and then you realize you don't even fit in. Like that's not even what men are looking for. So you're like, damn, and then so they not raising them to be like that. And so I thought that was a little odd. I said, well, that's odd. But then I'll say this. I think this is what I think she should have said. When she said, for 17 years, I've been a psychologist and I'm a Dr. Bryant. I think this is how she should have worded that. And I don't think that she wouldn't have had an issue. For 17 years, I've been a psychology expert. And at Grosse University, I went to Grosse University and I took courses in maybe her most primary psychology courses, and she'd have left the doctor out of it. You know what I mean? She said that for 17 years, I've been a psychology expert, and I went to Grosse University, and at Grosse University, I took the behavioral science 101, cognitive behavioral science 102, and maybe she don't even have the name of course. I took cognitive behavioral science, and I took the analytical psychology of subconscious, whatever it is. And so when we learned that in this dynamic, and that's all she had to do. She didn't have to talk about, oh, I'm a doctor. You good and well, you're not no damn doctor. She didn't have to do all that. She talked about she said, for 17 years, I'm a psychologist and a therapist, and I have been given private practice. Private practice? You mean you was practicing on privates? You was practicing on private parts. You don't fool me, chick. Look, I'm a little psychic. You was practicing on privates. You ain't had no private practice. You had a private practice, all right. You was practicing on privates. And see, I'm not no hating ass bitch. I told you I'd give you some game. I told you what you should have said. And I told you all you had to do is be yourself. And another thing, you sitting there talking to the men like that, I would tell you this. It was 3 networks, 2 secret societies went after her. I don't know these societies. I'm not a part of them. I'm just telling you what I see psychically. 2 secret societies went after her. The one that was female, that's protecting academia, that got a lot of lesbians, believe it or not, and see that you was a lesbian. That's what they were saying. They said you was a lesbian. Now you want to sit up there and act male identified and act like, oh, you about to pander to men so you can make some money. Be fake. So they put her on blast and went behind the scenes. But another network, believe it or not, is that black male network. It's a black male secret society that went after her when she attacked them, saying they low functioning. And they took offense to that. And then also what she did on that show with Torre. That was a minute ago, though. They had already set it up to bring her down. When she said, don't fucking talk to me. And then it was that when she called them low functioning, it was attacking 2 of those other black men. They felt it wasn't an attack. It was the truth. What she said was the truth. But they took that as an attack and decided to, we're not moving forward with her. So it was 2 networks, and then one of it was another network that was trying to big her up and get her through the pretty much trying to push her up on false valor and stolen valor, pretty much, instead of letting her just be herself. And if she would have been able to just be herself, I think that, for one, she liked to pander to honestly, her real calling is women's empowerment, all that stuff. She catty or whatever, but with the bitches or whatever. But her that's why they went after her, because it's like, wait a minute, you was doing all this women empowerment stuff. But believe it or not, it was 2 networks that was not feeling her. That black male one, and that one that's academia, and that one with the lesbians, black lesbians, who she was rolling with. And I'm telling you, I could be tripping. I'm just saying what I see. I could kind of do a little remote viewing. I'm not the best, but I'm saying I saw that stuff. I saw that because when I'm watching it, I'm like, why are they attacking her like this? I had to really get into it. I said, why are they coming at her? And I said, well, I understand. She's not educated. She don't have the credentials out there. Credentials. Like that's just a fact. Like there's nothing wrong with pointing that out and gatekeeping access to the way in which this community gets therapy or seeks therapy or what they deem as valid. My thing is do it to the niggas too, because there's a bunch of niggas that's charlatans in this community that's doing the same thing with pseudoscience and pseudo bullshit. My thing is get all their ass. That's my thing. Like, why y'all just attacking this lady and making her? My thing is it's a bunch of niggas that need to be up on there too, on that docket. A bunch, okay, that y'all love to idolize. So I guess they rolled her out thinking she comes out, you know, and they thought that the men was gonna fall for it. They almost fell for it with they ass, because they colorists and color struck, so they just saw light skin and hazel eyes. And I was cracking up because I was thinking in my head, I said, that lady a lesbian. She probably said, yo, the economy is motherfucking. She probably look at her girlfriend and say, the economy is motherfucking bad right now. Bills gotta be paid. Bills gotta be paid. And we need a hustle. And I'm gonna get out here. I got titties. I got put my poom pooms up. Ass. You got titties and ass too. We gonna act like we ain't together. We gonna do this hair. We gonna put our little outfits on, and we gonna grift these niggas. You know how colorist they is. We gotta do is get out there and the man in marriage about cleaving. And so when you cleaving, showing my cleavage, and with marriage, but you not cleaving, you right here. And when you have low functioning, and I'm a psychology expert, and all up in them niggas' faces, and Shannon Sharp's thick, and you batting those lashes. We about to grip these niggas, we about to grip these black men, and she couldn't stay in character enough to get through with it. She couldn't stay in character enough. She done went off on damn Torre. She done went off on, and she fell for. I said, Torre walked your ass into a trap. That nigga been on television for 20 years. I've been on television when I was in high school. I used to watch him on that damn commentary on MSNBC, one of them. And you walked into his trap, Cheyenne Bryant, when Torre when Torre was saying, we're about to end the show. What are you doing? What are you doing? I can tell you ain't got no academia background, because soon as a nigga do that, you be quiet, because they about to walk you into a trap. They about to set your ass up and have you looking stupid and throw it in your face, and they gonna sit on it. And that's exactly what happened. Don't fucking talk to me like that. Don't fucking talk to me like that. Yeah, you better get in your gentleness real quick. And then he was quiet, and he did that look. See, you dealing with some, these are not what you think, sweetie. Them the big dogs. And not in our eyes in that sense, but I'm saying as far as television programming, they know how to flip a script on your ass. And you see how the executive producer had muted him and not her. And see, these ghetto ass niggas was talking about, see, look how they wanted to disrespect, the executive producer wanted to disrespect the black man by muting him and letting her talk. Not everything is a ghetto ass baby boy scene around here. That lady was actually protecting his brand and letting her walk off a cliff. And I'm telling you how these people think. She sitting up there going off looking stupid over something that looks very uneducated for the people where it matters. He playing victim, being quiet and muted, because if he would have been going off, then it just would have been like two fools. That executive producer was looking out for Torre and was protecting his brand. Muted him, got her showing all cussing and acting a fool. Don't fucking talk. It was something that really was not that, but he goaded her. It's like, what are we doing? I'm trying to end the show. Well, I would like more humans to be more gentle. I think we should raise more. I'm telling you, I've been around people, white people do that all the time. That's why I'm shocked she couldn't catch up on it. I'm like, oh, I see what you're doing. I would have been like, well, we let's agree to disagree and let's end the show. That would have been my thing right then and there. I'm telling you, because you look crazy. Talking about, don't fucking talk to me like, it looked like you didn't have the education or the range to hang with them. To be honest, that's how it came off, because it is true. No valid licensed psychologist will agree that you should hit a child. And I'm not a psychologist, and I've stated on my channel in public, you don't hit a child. I don't believe in hitting children. I got dragged on fucking Twitter when I was saying I can't believe we live on a planet that believes that children should be hit. You don't hit children. And that is the consensus. It don't do anything for them. It don't. And you inflict pain on them and try to augment their behavior through violence. It to me, I don't agree with it. And they say spirit around sport a child and all that stuff. I mean, I don't agree with that. I could show you some secret societies in Africa and their writings and their practices is what they used to do to inflict. That's where that hazing come from. And they how they used to whip them and all that crazy stuff. Like, I just don't believe they was doing that to the teenagers and all that. And I just don't believe in that. But nonetheless, like, I think that the entertainment fact, I know it was drama and it was dragging her through the mud, but at the same time, you know, I think her equation flipped on her and she didn't have the protection that she needed because she wasn't being herself. And only she knows that. She don't have to prove that to the public. God knows it. And people with discernment can see it. You weren't being yourself when you was trying to grift and get on it and set up an image that wasn't even yours. You know, like Lil Fizz said, he know you as Cheyenne. And I heard her for 3 minutes. I said, that girl was videos. Psychically, I said, you even date men? Why are you trying to impress them so bad? They can see that. And so somebody did a lot of research and that group was offended that you came at them and another group was offended that you trying to act like you got credentials, and they both came to she was fighting it on 2 ends. And the thing is, like, it's like they reflected the mirror back into her. It wasn't like you weren't even being yourself to begin with. You should stick with the people that support you is going to fuck with you. The people that rock with you going to rock with you no matter what. And so that's where she at now. So I think going forward, you know, she did a psychology expert thing and continue to help those women, the women that will support you, the people that will support you, they'll support you. You know what I mean? So that's really where it's at now. And I think that going forward, she should be more of herself. Like that, the way she was talking to Torre, that's her real personality. I don't care what nobody says. Just like how she was talking with Jamal Bryant, talking about getting in the tub. That was the dumbest ass advice. You don't get in no bathtub unmarried. You don't. You don't get no bathtub with no unmarried with no man. And talk about some discipline. For women, yeah, I guess you could tell you got to be a motherfucking lesbian. Because the way, you mean with another girl, y'all could probably get in a bathtub and have discipline and don't be thinking about nothing like that. But a man, no. You're not getting in no tub with no man. That's why he said, what? No. That's why he's a man. And I'm not even male identified. And I know that his take on that was correct. Like, they don't think like that. They don't think. And they have discipline in a theoretical world? Yeah. Should they be all enlightened and I am above. I could look at that and that doesn't do anything to me. Get in a tub and see some titties and ass in a bathtub and we got discipline in a bath. We got discipline. Yeah, you see titties and ass. We got discipline and suds on the titties and they bouncing and you taking a washcloth and having the suds all on your titties and bending. We got discipline. And you see a hard dick sticking out of the water. That's what you're going to see. A hard dick. Unless they gay. Now, if they gay, he's sudsing too. But he's seeing Cheyenne Bryant. She knew what she was doing. That's in that video vixen talk, girl. You been in video with Lil Fizz. You was in the video. That ain't no past. Now she's about some God. Everybody want to bring up God now. Get out of here. What kind of PhD is that? What kind of psychology is that? Discipline. Ooh. And I'm not male identified at all. And I know how to play it up too. And get in some niggas' face. Oh, okay. Oh, we gotta be disciplined. Back suds on your ass. Oh, we gotta see this in our discipline. Get the fuck out of here. I'm looking at her like, are you nuts? That shit was funny. She tells us, I had my private practice for 17 years. You practicing on privates. You're practicing on privates. And they got tired of men and getting tired of smutted out. Decided to date some women. And it's even in Basketball Wives, they were showing the studs. It's right in front of y'all. They were showing the studs in Basketball Wives when they was getting to that argument. Her family was acting a ghetto plum fool ready to fight. Ready to fight on her behalf because she from Compton. I had a friend. She making $14,000 a month off of them niggas doing sex work, right? And she was a full-blown lesbian. She couldn't stand men. She hated they fucking guts. But when she had to go and put on that role and act like she was dainty-eyed and put on some makeup and some heels and go in their face, she did what she had to do. Making $14,000 a month off of niggas and couldn't stand them. Hated they guts. Was a full-blown lesbian going home to a woman. Then I had another girl. I knew another girl. She was actually really pretty. Man, she was a stripper. Titties. I mean, I remember one time we went to one party. Butt ass, whole naked. And I'm looking like, are you serious? And all the men throwing their money. You know, you see that girl was a full-blown stud outside of that. I kid you not. If I'm lying, I'm flying. I had a friend that was trying to talk to her. That's how I know. And I said, well, that's the same. You know, it was the underground strip parties. It was underground, so, you know, nobody, you know, do her business. And I said, that was the girl that was at the underground. Oh, my gosh. I mean, we talking about she these titties, this big old ass, and was up there twirling and twerking and all types of. That's kind of common, and that's not a big deal. But to be a stud is kind of different, right? But that's kind of like a normal thing. That's kind of like, it's not unheard of pretty much for girls. It's a lot of lesbians in a strip club that do that. But I was looking like, are you serious? I mean, she was a stud that played basketball. It was one of the coaches. My mouth was dry. What? My mind was blown. I said, that was a full-blown stud. I said, that girl was butt-asshole naked with a pressing curl on her hair, had a whole bikini on, took the whole thing off. My mind was just, I mean, I was like, I think I was young as hell at that time. I was going to these underground. Nobody knew. I mean, I said, what kind of shit is that? So, I mean, I'm past all that now. But I'm just looking like, are y'all serious? Like, this is how we go. And so Cheyenne Bryant thought she was gonna do that little shindig on the world stage at that mainstream level. No, that stuff gonna come out. Somebody gonna pull you. Somebody gonna she couldn't stay in character long enough. She couldn't stay in character long enough to play the. And I said. How she was talking to that's her personality. Now, and that's the way she act with that women's empowerment. She's about the women's empowerment and was catering to the women. If she said she had a black father, she said she had a black father in the house. That's the way they was really raising her. That's the real her. They weren't raising her to be all sit all docile and passive and you know, we have to cater to our man. And marriage is cleaving, and you have one hole, and he has, and we have to be so traditional, and you know, the man of the house, and the way she don't fucking talk to me like that, Tora, and you better get your gentleness real quick. That's how that black American man was raising her, to be just like that, to be just like that. You that's what the talk of the black woman where white privilege. That's how she was being raised. So black men want to take issue with her. That's low functioning behavior. Just like how I heard a black man say, don't be a statistic. Don't be a single mother. Don't be a statistic. That's low functioning behavior when you sit up there and have 12 different babies and 12 different days. I'm telling you, that's how, that was the real way the black man was raising her. That's the real her. So they took issue with her calling them out. Take issue with her father. That's the real her. I said, y'all really crashed out over that girl. Y'all really wanted to hang her to the cross, didn't y'all? I said, well, you know, that's not really my style. I don't think she got the credentials, but at the same time, I like to give encouragement to the ladies. Just try it again. Dust yourself off and try again. But be yourself, and word things. This I'm telling you this what you do. For 17 years, I've been a psychology expert, you know, and I took behavioral cognitive science and psychology, analytical science, Hungarian psychology. And, we learned these things when it comes to culture and our people and what women's and how they da-da-da and women's. But your audience is women, I'm telling you. Men is not going to tolerate you, your personality, not your real personality, not your real one. Your audience is women. I'm going to tell you that right now. Black women's, and maybe some Latino women's too. But your person, that's why they ganged up on your ass when they saw you, because they felt like you was trying to go and cater to men and be male identified and be all up on their nutsack and all that, knowing that you was money making hoe and that you just want their money and grifting their ass. And ain't nothing, you got industry experience, you got industry experience. You know how to play it up. You know how to do that hair, do that makeup, push them titties up, and you like to be seen. You like they say you a narcissist. I don't know about all that. But you like to be seen and you know how to be all up in their face. But you don't, that's not your audience, really. They probably like the way you look, and that's probably about it. Like, as soon as you open your mouth and they hear you talking, they ain't going to really fall for that. I'm just telling you, they not that dumb as much as you think. They may have weak flesh, and be looking at your titty. Ooh, yeah, mm-hmm. But they not gonna fall for that. Your mouthpiece ain't crisp enough. In other words, your mouthpiece is not crisp enough. You have to go and pander to women. If the women like to be hear, tell them what you like to hear. Emotionally cater them. That's that women shit. You have to go. Your audience was women. It's not that I'm telling you that was her audience to begin with. They was the only ones listening to that shit. And listening to that coaching, and like I said, maybe you have a couple of male clients here and there, but they gonna sit and I'm telling you, you be dragging them niggas. There's room for that's an audience for that too. Because it was true what she said about the low functioning behavior and all that. That was true. It is true, but it's some bullshit that she said too. It's some bullshit, but she talking about that get in a bathtub and we gonna practice discipline. You must be thinking you in your hoe days and no video vixen days. Ain't no nigga getting no bathtub talking about and sitting with a pastor talking about that. And that's why he said no. I already knew what that was about. You soliciting. You trying to use that like on Friday. You trying to use the Lord to sell some pussy. What? Wait a minute, bitch. Don't you touch me. I remember that movie Friday After Next. Y'all trying to use the Lord to sell some pussy. That's what she was doing. I ran a private practice. Ooh, look at my seductress. Get your little succubi ass. I'm just kidding. God gives grace. God gives grace. I thought it was hilarious watching that little psyop. Y'all niggas know y'all love a psyop. It was just a psyop. But I tell you this, let me get up off here. The programming, okay? The programming. I got a show in mind. I'm telling you, it's a show that I have. She would be perfect for this show idea that I got in my motherfucking mind. I'm telling you. Because she entertainment factor. She can do that little psychology expert shit on that little entertainment shit. I have a full-blown show. I'm going to pitch this shit. And if it ever gets somewhere, I'm telling you, firsthand, you heard it here first, I am going to ask the producers to cast this motherfucker. So you may see, but she ain't gonna be saying no doctor. She gonna be she, like Lil Fizz said, she in. We know you is she in, but we gonna have her in that little role. She want to do the psychology expert thing. She do. So we gonna have her in the psychology expert position. She not gonna be. We ain't gonna be saying she licensed and she therapist and she gonna be. We gonna give her that role to talk about that psychology. But we gonna ask you to bring that smoke too. We gonna ask you to bring that heat. That shit, don't fucking talk to me. We gonna ask you to bring that programming because we doing now we are gonna have a licensed motherfucker on there. We are gonna do the real PhD. We gonna have a PhD on there too, but we not gonna. I'm just saying she gonna fit that role. She gonna talk to them clients and she gonna be I'm telling you that's what you need to be doing. I told y'all vetting against yourself going against me. You boule ass niggas. You boule ass niggas. Y'all better get some correction going. Because I know what I'm doing. If you fuck with me, we can get somewhere. Stop following them motherfuckers that you think that them same people that put us in this position. That's all I got to say. That's my time. Bye, guys. Love you.